Important times, election year in the city of Lynn, and we have a number of qualified candidates here this evening, and they're here to make their pitch as to why they're going to be the best candidate for either the school committee, city council ward races, council at large, or the mayor's race. All right, we're trying to schedule this to start. I'll just give you what our schedule was: 6 o'clock for the school committee candidates, 7 o'clock for the ward councilors, and 8 o'clock for the mayor's race. All right? So that's the schedule we're going with. We're going to try to be as respectful as we can for people's time. So again, we're going to start at 6:20, and we're going to start with the school committee. I'm just going to read you the format that we're going to go by, so just people are abreast of what we're trying to do. All right, the basic ground rules that we have is that we're going to be respectful of one another, and there's going to be no personal questions about anyone's family. All right? That's not asking too much. I think that the issues will speak for themselves, and we're just going to stick to the issues this evening to try to get a constituency the best possible idea they have for the candidate that they may want to vote for. All right? So we're going to stick to that. The school committee, each candidate will have 1 minute to make their opening statement, which is to include who they are, whether they're an incumbent or a challenger, the office they're running for, and why they're running for that office. That will be part of their opening statement. You can get that in. If you can get anything else in after that, that's fine, but you have 1 minute to get that in. That's what we're looking for. All right, the school committee is going to have 4 questions. 4 questions that will be posed by me, the moderator. Of course, it will be surrounding education or something that has to do with education. We're not trying to trip anybody up here with statistics and things like that. It's basically going to be what your feelings are and what you can do for Lynn Public Schools. All right? It's going to be some issues that we're going to bring up. If you're not aware of those issues, I'll explain it to you first, and we would like your take or your opinion on them. All right? Okay. After you answer the questions that are posed to you by the moderator, you will have an opportunity to ask one question of whatever candidates in front of you, because we're going to go up 2 by 2. But I would like everyone to pay strict attention to the questions that are being asked of everyone, all right? We're asking these questions like this because it's basically for the people that are in the audience. They can hear these questions being asked, but each one of the candidates will have an opportunity to answer those questions at some point in time, all right? Not tonight, but you know that that's on people's minds, okay? You're only going to be answered 4 questions. Everybody got that? Okay, thank you. All right, after we finish the 4 questions, and you're able to ask the particular person that you're facing a question of them, and they'll ask a question of you, then you'll be allowed to make your closing statement for 1 minute, all right? That's going to be pretty much the format for school committee, council at large, and for the mayor's race. It's going to be pretty much the same, except that the mayor's race is going to have 5 questions or 5 particular categories instead of 4. Okay? All right. Mingle. Mingle for 2 minutes. Man, I'm going to ask people to find their way to their seats if they could, please. Find the way to your seats. I'm going to ask Mr. Andrew Burton, could you give me the first 2 names for the school committee, please, and have a seat up here when you have your name called. We're just going to go by the way you signed in. Coppola and Dugan. Give him a clap. I may need some glasses for this. It's time. I held out as long as I could. I can't see. Okay. Okay, we may have Ms. Donna Coppola.
Sure. Hi, my name is Donna Capola, and I presently sit on the Lynn School Committee, and I'm running for re-election. I'm married to my husband, Harry, and I'm a parent of 4 children that all graduated from Lynn Classical High School, 6 granddaughters, which I love dearly, 4 in public school and 2 not old enough to go yet, and former foster parent to 19 children that mostly were in the Lynn Public Schools. I ran quite a while ago when my kids were in school, and I was kind of disappointed in what I saw, and that's what kind of motivated me to get interested in running for school committee. I've enjoyed serving on the school committee. I put the kids first. It's the most important thing that I think needs to be done, and there's a lot of work. We've had a difficult 2 years, and the kids are back, and there's just a lot of issues and a lot of things going on, and I'd like to have you send me back again for another term. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Eric Dugan.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for the format. My name's Eric Dugan. I'm running for school committee. I'm a challenger. So this is my first time ever running for anything like this, so I've learned a lot this past summer and fall and spring. But the reason I'm running for school committee is I have 2 children. My wife and I have 2 children. We brought them up in Lynn. They've both been products of Lynn Public Schools. My oldest just graduated in the spring from Classical. My youngest is a junior at Classical this year, so I have a vested interest in the schools. I've also been involved in the community, lots of coaching through the years. My kids both enjoy playing sports. One of the biggest things I did was I was the president of Wyoming Little League for some time, and while over there, we made lots of improvements to the fields, which helped the city. And also I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher in Danvers for 17 years, so I know just about everything there is to know about education. I've done just about everything in the field of education. I've bargained contracts. I've been on hiring committees. So I feel like I could bring that to the table in the committee. So thank you. November 2nd, I'm 5th on the ballot.
All right, thank you, Brian. Eric, excuse me.
Oh, Eric, yes.
A lot of Brian's. Eric
I'm
Dugan.
slamming the table. I'm not Brian.
My apologies. It's always important to get
listen,
somebody's
if I
name
can be
right.
compared to Brian, that's a good thing.
I apologize.
Don't
I
apologize.
Okay. Okay, this first question. Again, folks, I want you to just pay close attention to these questions. Again, there's going to be 4 total questions for the school committee, but these 2 candidates were only going to be answering one of them. So we're going to have 4 sets, all right, for the total questions here. The first question: what are your feelings on the practice of race norming? Now, if you're not familiar with that, I'll explain to you in a second. When it comes to evaluating students in their cognitive and intellectual ability, for people who are not familiar with race norming is something where there is a preconceived notion or condition that African American people don't have the intellectual capacity or cognitive ability to be evaluated the same as their peers. So going into them being evaluated, going into a classroom or their reading ability, all these different things, simply because they're African American, they're going to be evaluated on a lower scale because they tend to think that that is normal, all right? So we're asking, what are your thoughts on Lynn Public Schools or just the schools in general, all right, having the practice of race norming, automatically assuming that students of African American descent are at a lower level than their white counterparts? Okay. We'll start with Donna.
Okay. I find it hard to believe that would happen, but I definitely know that it probably has happened as a person who has adopted a minority child, as well as did foster care, and I had a number of minority children. I know that sometimes there would be different people, whether it was coaches, whether it was teachers, that did not look at what they could do. And so obviously it's out there. Just before I left the house tonight, it came on the news that they were doing something like that when the football players with the concussions, and that they were rating them differently, black players, for injuries from the concussions, and I just think it's despicable. But on a good note, I know that in Lynn Public Schools, we have a lot of minority kids. It's a majority of what we have in the schools. And I personally, my job is I work at a daycare center, and I case manage a teen parent program. And 2 years ago at Lynn Tech, one of my teen parents that I had is an African American girl, and she's very bright, and she was the valedictorian. Unfortunately, she barely got any recognition. She barely got any recognition because it was the start of the COVID, and that was the year she was graduating, and so she wasn't able to do the speech and everything. But she's at Merrimack College with a good scholarship. So I know I personally would feel differently, and I hope that if we see that in our Lynn Public Schools, that we should take care of that and correct it.
All right, thank you very much, Donna.
Yep.
All right, Eric, same question, please.
Okay. So thank you for the question. Obviously, I believe that's despicable. That's not something that should be happening. I think I'd be a bit naive to think that it isn't happening, though, as well. So I think, one of the most important things that we need to do is train our teachers, and I know that it started in the Lynn Public Schools, how to be culturally proficient and how to treat everybody, respectfully and the same. I know where I teach at the district I'm at, that's one of the things that we're focused on as a staff and as a school community, that, we do become culturally proficient, and that, the whole staff is that. So, I think that it's an awful thing. I'd be naive to think that it isn't happening. And it's definitely something, as Donna said, that, if it does happen and we know that it happens, we need to nip it in the bud, and we need to address that teacher and make sure that it's taken care of. So I said, like I said, I'm a teacher, and I think one of the most important things as a teacher is just getting to know families. That's this part of the year. I'm doing parent-teacher. I'm really exhausted right now because I just came from a whole bunch, but I'm doing parent-teacher conferences, and getting to know the families of my students is really I think one of the most important things I can do as a teacher. And I think that it's important our teachers do as well, because once you do that, you make a connection with the families. We're all people at that point, and so. To get back to your question, it's an awful thing, and we need to address it when it does happen, if and when. So, thank you.
All right, thank you both.
Okay.
Just to add to that just a little bit, you'll probably see this practice sometimes in individual teachers, but what we're really referring to right now is that sometimes these things are systemic. All right, it's part of a curriculum that people have. So being candidates for a school committee, if that comes across your desk, or if people bring that to your attention, we just want to get a feel of for what you feel about that right now, because my personal opinion, speaking for a large number of people in the African American community, we feel as though African American children, if given the proper opportunity and tools as everyone else, they can achieve just as high as anyone else. And they should not be saddled with something like that, going in, automatically putting them into remedial reading or remedial math or something like that, assuming that they can't do these things. We believe that they can. So again, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, all right. I thought I was off the hook. I apologize. Oh, jeez. I was ready to go. I was going to get a drink of water. I was good. Okay.
You do have one question, but we're going to give you an opportunity.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, right. We have to
Give you an opportunity, being that you are vying for a position of school committee person, and as friendly as you want to be to one another, you're running against people. So we want you to, if you had an opportunity to ask one of your opponents one particular question, you don't have to do it if you don't like. But if this is your opportunity. If you want to ask Donna one question, she's an incumbent here. If you want to ask her a question, you can ask her that, and she can return the favor.
No, Donna's lovely. I think everybody's lovely. I think I probably would ask that, is there anything you, looking back on your time on school committee, that you would change?
Whoa. I think I probably would have been much more forceful in the building of schools at times, you know. I've been there a long time, and I've had different mayors come and go, and, you know, they're always sort of in control of the pocket strings of the money. So, you know, they would say, you know, well, don't worry, which is what happened recently with the most recent mayor is, you know, Donna, please be quiet and be patient with me, and we're going to have a school built, but it didn't happen. So in a little way, that was kind of disappointing. And, you know, that was probably one of my regrets, is not being as vocal in that area.
It's a great answer.
All right, Donna, do you have a question for Eric?
Yeah, there's a lot of subcommittees to serve on. Is there anything of interest that you would have?
Yeah, sure. I think the building subcommittee is something that I would be interested in. The negotiating subcommittee is definitely something I'd be interested in. And I think those are the two probably. Is there an athletic subcommittee as well?
Yeah,
yes.
there is.
So I would love to be part of that as well. I mean, I love I was just talking to Steve about high school basketball, and you know, I love my sports, and I've coached lots of things. So I think that would be one and two.
Good. Yeah.
Thank-
Great. Lots of work in all those areas.
Okay, being that Donna started, Eric, you have 1 minute to make your closing statement.
Okay. So thank you, everybody. And, you know, like I said, on November 2nd, I hope for your vote. I'm 5th on the ballot. I think I bring just expertise to the table. You know, what I've chosen to do with my career and the things I've chosen, the path I've chosen in my life, I bring that to the table. I bring an expert at education to the table. You know, I'm a teacher. I plan to retire a teacher. I don't plan on, you know, being a career politician, and I think that's important too. I have a vested interest in the schools. Like I said, my youngest son is a junior at Classical right now, and you know, so I think that put all those things together, it makes me a really solid candidate. So, on November 2nd, number 5 on the ballot, please consider Eric Dugan. Thank you.
All right, Donna, 1 minute for your closing statement. 1 minute, please.
1 minute, sure. I want to thank you for having us here today. We appreciate it. We've had a lot of different places that we've debated and had meet and greets, and so there has been a lot out there, and I think because of COVID, the numbers have been really low. So it's good for those that came out. We appreciate it. I love doing what I'm doing on the school committee. It's a lot of work. It sometimes is thankless, but I don't always feel that way. And just ask for one of your votes and send me back to the school committee. And I promise to take good care of your kids, promise to push harder for building and replacing some of these schools because they're really in tough shape. And it isn't so much the tough shape as it is how many kids are in them. We have over 17,000 kids in 28 schools. And they're really overcrowded and old, and I'd like to go back and take care of some of that problem. Thank you.
All right, thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Lorraine Gately, Tiffany Magnolia.
Hello.
Okay, we're going to start with Tiffany.
Okay. I hope it's okay. I'm going to leave my mask on because I got this really bad cold that went through the Lynn Public Schools from my daughter. So keep everybody from getting the cold. So my name is Tiffany Magnolia, and I am running as a challenger for school committee. I ran 2 years ago unsuccessfully. I am trying again. I am a parent of a Lynn Public School kid, as is obvious by the cold, and I'm also a professor at North Shore Community College. I'm running to be on the school committee because I have those two perspectives. I have the perspective of a parent, but I also, as a professor, see what Lynn Public School graduates bring to the table, where their strengths are, and where some of their challenges are. So I hope to have one of your 6 votes on November 2nd.
All right, Lorraine.
Good evening. I'm Lorraine Gately, and I am currently a member of the Lynn School Committee. I was born and raised in Lynn. I went to Lynn Public Schools, many of them. because I moved around a lot. My parents were divorced, so I didn't really have the simplest of life, but sometimes what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And a cancer survivor also, I understand that. And Pat Bonton, she was my principal when I taught at Pickering Middle School. And when I got hit with the first diagnosis, she's like, just keep fighting. So I did. But I love teaching. I love being part of Lynn Public Schools. I ran to be part of Lynn Public Schools and continue to be the voice for the parents and the students in Lynn. And I would appreciate it for one of your 6 votes. And you trusted me with your children for 33 and a half years. Please trust me with your vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The question, we're going to start with Lorraine.
Okay.
The question is, with the approaching of winter in New England, here in New England, what are your thoughts and position on mandatory vaccines and masks for students and teachers? Are you in favor of it? Why or why not?
Well, I'm in favor of it because I want to keep our children safe. If everyone has a vaccine and in the classroom they're wearing masks, then our children will be safe. If the thing with the vaccinations, though, I want to make sure that before students get vaccinated, that it's approved and it's like really approved. Children are so vulnerable. That's why I have said yes to the mask, and I've been vaccinated, and I highly recommend that everybody get vaccinated so we can get this virus under control. And I think I answered it. Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm 100%.
Hold on, before we move forward, you said you wanted everyone to be vaccinated. That's students and teachers as well, correct?
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Just clarity.
So I am 100% in favor of this because I have friends and family members who suffer from polio when they were kids. And I think if any of you have encountered the lifelong health issues that polio causes, it gives you a perspective on the necessity of vaccination and keeping other people safe. For me, this is a public health issue. Teachers have the role of maintaining public health standards in their classroom. They have to be the leaders here. Students also have the role of keeping their vulnerable classmates protected. There will be children because of health reasons who cannot be vaccinated, and it is the job of everyone else in the Lynn Public Schools to be vaccinated to protect those most vulnerable members. And I'm going to sort of further say that I happen to have a number of family members who work in the biotech industry for Pfizer, so full disclosure there. The FDA process that speeds up the approval is just that it moves to the front of the line. All of those testings that they have to do to get approved are still in place. They just don't have to wait before other types of drugs. And it's because of that public health reason that we have to work very hard to educate both our families and our children about why vaccines are necessary and to talk about the push and pull of individual rights and public health.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, that being said about vaccinations and masks, I think you're both in favor of masks for both teachers and students going forward, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody clear in the audience? Where we stand moving forward? Want to keep all of our children safe?
Yes.
Again, I want to be as impartial as I can, but I just hope that we all just take the time to just follow the science on this thing, because whether you have children yourself or you have nieces, nephews, anyone like that, young people that are going to be exposed to a whole lot, we want them to have every opportunity available to them for them to be safe in a safe environment to learn. So I just hope that our school committee can make some good, sound decisions with that.
That's a definite for me.
Okay. Tiffany, do you have any questions, or a question for Lorraine?
So I guess the question that I would ask is, If you could change one thing about the way the school committee operates, what would it be?
One thing that I would change, I don't know, it's really difficult.
I'm going to help you a little bit, Lorraine. Well, let's think of it this way.
It's
the
difficult.
school committee is not perfect, and we all have room for improvement. We all do. We all have room for.
Yeah.
If you could think of one thing that could make the Lynn School Committee better and more efficient, you got a open purse right there. Money's not even an option. What would it be? What would it be? What would you change?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I would love to change the MSBA, the Mass Association, the Building Association, so that we can get more new schools in Lynn. If I could change that, that is what I would change. I would change and make sure that everybody has small class sizes, and those are the things I would like. But the question is about the school committee itself.
Exactly.
And if it's a school committee, we follow Robert's rules. We have policies we have to follow, so it's a really difficult. Maybe we could change the policies that we have to follow, Tiffany. It's
That's
really
what-
tough. When
that's
you get
what I'm
on, you'll
wondering.
see.
Okay. All right, Lorraine, do you have a question for Tiffany?
Tiffany, what's your expectations of being on the school committee? What do you think's going to be, what it will be like to be a member of the school committee?
So I'm actually imagining that being on the school committee is remarkably like when I was a union president. And what I mean by that is you have to balance the kind of structural stuff, right? Like you've got monthly union meetings, you've got to get out communication to your constituents, all of that kind of stuff. And then at the same time, it's almost like you've got information coming from right field, from left field, from all around you. And I think it's that kind of balancing act, to me, that says that there's room for improvement with the school committee itself. Because as I like to say, if you have to know your city councilor personally to get your street plowed, then government isn't working. If you have to know a school committee member to get your issues heard, then there's something about the structure that's not working. So I would like to hopefully try to tip that balance in terms of the, organized structural stuff more through policies and things like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to have our closing statements now. We're going to start with Tiffany.
Okay.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. So I hinted before, I've been a union president at North Shore Community College. It's the union that oversees the faculty and staff. I'm also a Girl Scout leader. I bring that experience. I was just talking about going to Plymouth Plantation with 15 precocious 9-year-olds. I think that's a good example of how I can handle things coming out of left field. Don't forget the importance of the parents' experience. I think what we're all seeing play out about school lunches right now shows that the day-to-day experience of parents really matters when it comes to making policy decisions. I would also like to say that I am passionate about education. I did citizen lobbying for the Massachusetts Teachers Association for 2 years, where I was connecting K through 12 locals with their elected officials to make sure they had a say in how government was run as it affected education. I feel like I can bring that kind of experience to bear on the school committee. I'm number 4 on the ballot. Please vote on November 2nd.
All right, thank you, Lorraine. You have 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay, I'm Lorraine Gately. I'm currently on the school committee, and I am asking for one of your 6 votes for my 4th term. I love what I'm doing. I'm working hard. I love being in the classroom. I have students right here in this room that know the type of person I am, that I work hard. I make sure I reach and teach every student, and I'm trying to reach and teach every parent and listen to students. I have a student here volunteering to work on my campaign. I just absolutely love Lynn. I have faith in our education. If I could, I'd get all brand new schools, but that's not possible right now, but I'm working towards it. So I'm asking for another term, and one of your 6 votes for Lorraine Gately, School Committee, number 3 on the ballot. Thank you very much, and I love you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Thank you.
I forgot to thank everybody for giving me this opportunity. Sorry.
All right. Andrew.
Richard Castellano.
Okay. All right, we have Brian Castellanos and Daniel Richards. We're going to start with Daniel.
Okay. Excuse me, everyone. So my name is Daniel Richard. I'm a lifelong Lynn kid. I've lived in Lynn my whole life, 31 years. I'm an immigrant from Colombia, adopted by French-Canadian parents. Once again, I did go through the Lynn public school system, Druids breed, classical grad, 2008. But I also had a son who went through the Lynn public school system, and he's special needs. Diagnosed with autism at 2.5. He was a part of the coach program at Shoemaker. So understanding what it's like to be a student in the Lynn public school systems is very unique, and I have that experience. But also being a parent, but not just a parent, being a parent to a special needs child is very important as well. I do have a lot of experience when it comes to nonprofits and bringing resources to the table and bringing people together to help out the kids in the city of Lynn. So I feel I have a very unique perspective, and I'm a Lynn kid. I'm here to stay. I love this city. I love the schools, and I know I can make a difference in the school department. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Castellanos.
Wow, it's always difficult to follow Mr. Richards. Very well spoken. I'm actually one of my good friends. It takes a lot of courage to come up here and have to run for office. Everybody who runs, it's inspiring. Again, my name is Brian Castellanos. I'm also an immigrant. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela. My mother was born in Lima, Peru. My father was born in Monterrey, Venezuela as well. I migrated to the wonderful city of Lynn when I was about 3 years old. I'm a graduate of Lynn English High School. I'm a Lynn Public School graduate and proud product of a first-generation low-income background. I'm a kid who represents hope for a lot of kids who might not make it. You know, I've been a kid against the odds, and you know, I hold a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. I'm a licensed social worker. I'm also a local 509 SEIU member for DCF. I'm also a North Shore delegate. I've lobbied from state, local, and federal legislator. I'm also I'm the lead investigator for a missing or absent unit that deals with child trafficking. Yeah. See, I told you. Hey.
All right, thank you. Thank you both. Thank you both. Question, another tough one here, I would say. Okay. We're going to start with Mr. Castellanos. What are your thoughts on the concept of critical race theory being taught in Lynn Public Schools? Why or why not? If you're not familiar, folks, with critical race theory, it's a man-made construct that race was created by man. It's not a natural occurrence. So if you were to teach critical race theory in the Lynn Public Schools or any other school system, it's that nobody's inherently superior to anyone else strictly due to their race. Now, there's been opposition on both sides of this. Some people are for it, not here particularly in Lynn, but just in general, the conversation has come up. Should this or should this not be taught to our young people? That no one is superior to anyone else strictly because of their race. There are people on each side of this. So the question, again, Mr. Castellanos, would you be in favor of teaching critical race theory in Lynn Public Schools?
So, history is very important. When you look at the history, right, when we look at CRT, when you look at redlining and the way the disparities in our country were, you know, the foundation of America, it's pretty bloody and it's messy. I think you need to take full accountability within the institutions we teach. When you look at history, when you look at just what's being taught in curriculums, it's really not all true. the people's history. I remember from Howard Zinn, I read way back when I was in 2008. You learn about just what really happened. When Christopher Columbus first came here, and we celebrate, recently, now it's Indigenous People Day, which is respectfully so. But why are we in 2021 and we just making those changes? CRT it's something that I've been educated, well equipped over the years, in undergraduate and graduate. I've taken my culture, competency, and intelligence training comes from multiple layers. And I take a lot of pride in listening to my constituents who do, when you look at both sides too, because I get to speak, as a school committee member, you got to speak with both sides. It's bipartisan. So you hear from both perspectives, but it's key to really pay attention to the facts. And it's important to evolve, and we can't stay stuck in the old times. We need to evolve and support. And we have it's a community of color, and we have to represent what the best interest is. So CRT is something I do have a strong support in, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castellanos. Daniel?
Okay, so for me, when it comes to critical race theory, it's a very interesting one, being a person of color, being an immigrant as well, and history being my favorite subject in high school. I think it's very important to teach history and for kids to understand the history, but not just history, but understand what's real, what's real history, and not just American history, but Black culture, Latino culture. It's very important because we live in such a diverse community that we should all be sensitive to different cultures and understand where people are coming from, and understand that when you're an American, you may have certain values, certain things that happen that other cultures might not know about, and vice versa. If you step into a different community, a Latino community, African American community, they may do things a little different. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It's just that's how they do things. It's okay. And we should be able to get along and be able to learn from each other and be able to make the city great. And I think that's going to be very important moving forward, is understanding that we all come from different backgrounds. That doesn't make us strange. That doesn't make us wrong. It just makes us more beautiful as one community together. Thank you.
All right, Daniel, if you have more, I'm allowed time. You want to add to that? Or are you good?
No, I'm good. So yes, I would be. He said 30 seconds, and the bell was going off. The bell was going off. I didn't want to go over.
Yeah,
too
I was
long.
trying to be fair because, Brian, you already extended your time.
Brian always goes over. He always goes over.
But really, we appreciate the answers from both of these gentlemen. And I'm hoping that you were able to get out all your thoughts on that, because I think it's critically important that we do. All right?
Can I add one thing, just respectfully?
Yes,
So I think,
absolutely.
I think as a school committee member, it's my job. So in life, we're going to have tough conversations. You got to be able to have these concepts broken down and have dialogue. If not, we get stuck in a cycle, and you don't really get to the solution. I'm a solution-oriented person. I aim at the core of any problem I see. So when you talk about critical race theory, it's critical thinking skills and critical management and resolve skills that are going to get us to compete further, because we're evolving. So I think it's very important to equip yourself. Being able to look both ways is vital. And as a leader here on the school committee, we're tough. I'm not afraid to make tough decisions. I have to do it all the time, and you have to have people that have that ability. So, and all positions in power. So, in local government. So.
Yeah, thank you for that, Brian. I believe that the audience appreciated that information. Any rebuttal?
No.
Are you good? Okay. All right. I thank you both for answering that question. Again, I knew it would be a little more difficult than you might have anticipated, but you're well versed in it, and I appreciate that. Brian, being a seasoned member of the school committee, do you have a question for someone like Daniel, who may be coming on the school committee? Do you have a question you want to ask him?
So I think a question I always I find when folks are running for leadership roles, I happen to always wonder, the question is why? Why? Right? What's your why? I would like to hear it.
All right. So the reason why I'm running for school committee, for me, it's very simple. It's very easy. I'm a lifelong Lynn kid. I really care about children. I really want to see the school department thrive. I see with the potential here. I see the potential in our kids. The kids are our future. And if we don't invest in our kids, in all of our kids, then we're doing a disservice to our community. And I feel being a Latino, being an immigrant, a person of color, I feel that I can bring a lot to the table. And one thing about me that most people know is I'm a hard worker. I'm not doing this for fun. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this because I love it. I'm doing it because I want to work hard and I want to see this community thrive. And if that means I got to work 2-3 days straight to make sure that I'm prepared for a meeting, then that's what I got to do. You're not going to find too many people that are going to work harder than me, that's going to dedicate as much time to this as I am. So that's why I'm doing this.
All right, Dan. Thank you for that, Daniel. Do you have a question for someone who's been on the school committee for a few terms? Mr. Castellanos?
Take it easy on me, Dan. Remember.
So, as a seasoned member on the school committee, being that you've been here, this is going hopefully on your third term. Is there anything that you would try to do differently or tell yourself when you first ran, as far as expectations goes, as far as something like I said, as expectation that maybe you didn't know going into this, that you were like, man, I wish I knew that when I first ran, that you know now?
When you have the opportunity to have a platform like this, I've learned that every decision impacts the people. And there's a cause and effect. And I believe when I first came on, it was overwhelming at first. And, you know, I had to work on my ability to communicate better. I come from the bottom, and I've always grew up. You know, I never thought, I think my self-esteem was always just, I feel like I was really struggling, you know, and when I look back on this journey, I embraced all the challenges and fears that this job has presented. And I've also embraced, and you get humbled real fast when you're reaching out, when you're getting called at midnight. When you say you're accessible, you got to stay true to your word, because you will get tested in this city. And if you don't keep your word, this city they'll let you know. And I definitely have taken accountability on many different stances where I've had to own it up, and I took it, you know, and I have to move forward, but I always hold myself accountable. And I'm not afraid of hard conversations, and I'll have it right to your face, wherever you want it, and we can talk about it.
All right, thank you, Brian.
Sorry. I haven't slept through this. I was worried 24 hours shit, bro. Sorry.
All right, he's on the road, so Brian, we're going to start with you. You have 1 minute for your closing statement.
1 minute. So, like I said, I'm going to start with this. I'm a first-generation low-income kid. It's always been a dream of mine to help people. I've always invested in, self-improvement. I've always set hard goals for myself and targets. We have tremendous goals that we need to attain in this district, whether it's overcrowded, addressing social emotional learning needs. When I came in 4 years ago, I want to see changes in how we respond to our most vulnerable families and children. And part of that piece was bringing in a clinical support system with social workers and programs that are going to help break the cycle of poverty and intergenerational trauma. I've been here to fight the trauma to prison pipeline every single day. I take a lot of pride in my outreach, and being able to establish those type of system changes are vital. I take this to the grave with me, how hard I'm willing to work. So 1 of your 6 votes goes to a very hard worker, someone who's willing to go above and beyond. And I mean, when I mean I'm accessible, I really am accessible. Just try me out, 781-346-2087. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Daniel, 1 minute for your closing statement.
All right, thank you very much. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. So, once again, my name is Daniel Richard. I'm running for Lynn School Committee. I'm a lifelong Lynn kid. My father was a graduate of Lynn Classical '69. My brother was a Lynn Classical grad in 2006, and I'm a Lynn Classical grad 2008. Like I said, I'm a lifelong Lynn kid. I love this city. I want to see this city thrive. I want to see all the kids thrive and get opportunities that I wasn't given when I was in high school. I want to make sure that the schools are functioning and that the teachers and kids are safe and they have a clean, good environment to learn in. But also, too, I'm somebody that's not afraid of challenges. I'm not somebody that's afraid to answer hard questions. I know Eric and Donna got the question of, what committees would you want to be on? Put me on the ones that are the hardest. Put me on the ones that you're going to face the hard questions. Put me on the ones that are most pressure, because that's where I thrive the most. And I feel that I'm not running from anything. I love those kind of challenges. I love those kind of questions. And I'm lucky number 7 on the ballot, and I ask for 1 of your 6 votes November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you both, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll take it.
Here we go. Okay, we ready? Oh, okay, we're going to start with Posan. Introduce yourself.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to all the candidates who are here, but especially to all the interested residents. And good evening, Lynn, all of Lynn voter. Lynn is going through an amazing changing time, and I'm going to up it a little bit more. I'd like to ask you a question. How do you eat an elephant? Yeah, one bite at a time. And that is the problem, because by the time you finish, it's spoiled. Right? How do we solve these problems of overcrowdedness, of dilapidated building? We're going to build a new building, not based on hope. We got to build a new building based on new strategy. So please go to voteposan.com, and there is a strategy that I'm excited that involves all of us, all of Lynn. Lynn is beautiful. Lynn is wonderful. I'm proud of Lynn. I can boast about Lynn. Not the beautiful forest, not our awesome ocean shore, not our wonderful diverse culture and food, but the fact that it's been a great launch platform for so many people. So we're gonna come together, eat this elephant, not one bite at a time, yes, but bring the whole family, bring all of Lynn, the voter, the mayor, the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Sandra Lopez. I live in here for 23 years. I've been working as a volunteer in many programs in the city. And then I have one son. His name is Christopher. He go to UMass Lower, and he do bioengineering. While I was seeing his program in the school system, I passed a couple of struggling, and then I running for a school committee because I want to bring the parent to the school system. I want to have the parent involved in the education of the kids, and then I want to convert the school a place where the kids enjoy to coming in and feel free to come in and feel safe, but I feel that place is a place where they can go for learning and to joy. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sandra. 1 second, please. Andrew, if you could do me a favor, Lenny Pena, we need you up front, please. We have an odd number for a school committee because we're gonna have 3 for this last segment right here. So Lenny, I'm gonna ask you to sit here. I'm gonna bring a chair for you.
Absolutely.
This is for you, Dan.
Sorry, folks.
So, Lenny, right here. Right here. Okay. All right, Lenny, we're asking that you identify yourself, the position you're running for, and whether you're an incumbent or a challenger, and why you're running for that position in school committee.
You guys hear me good? Well, first and foremost, thank you. I'd like to thank Daryl and CMCC for having me here and having us and everyone for coming out. Thank you.
African American Leadership Council?
Yes. Thank you, Daryl. My name is Lenny Pena. I'm a lifelong Lynn resident, and I am not an incumbent. I am a candidate for school committee. I'm running because I'm committed to our city, to our youth. I work for the Water and Sewer Commission, and I work at the Y. I'm a youth coordinator there. I work with kids. I'm committed to our city with kids. I've been involved with a lot of community activities with children, from park cleanings to coaching football. I'm director of the Outlaws football program, and I have 3 small children in the Lynn Public School system. I have 3 adult children that graduated, and I'm a product of Lynn Public Schools. Bilingual, and like I said, I love this city, and I'm running with my personal experiences with the school system. So
Thank you.
a little bit about me.
Thank you. Okay. Closer to the mic, please.
Okay. So I get to do it all over again?
All right, I thank everybody for that. We're going to start with the question, and we're going to go ladies first. So, Ms. Lopez. I got a question here. I need to get my glasses. I get to see what's going on here.
Don't be hard.
Okay, the question. Okay, you're right, correct too. Okay. Okay. With over 70% of Lynn Public School students of color and less than 20% of the faculty are teachers of color, do you think that the learning environment would be more conducive and beneficial to the students if more of their teachers were racially and culturally reflective of the students themselves? And thereby, teachers could serve as role models and enhance the ability of these same students to achieve. Why or why not?
Okay, I'm gonna start saying that yes, we need a diversity with all those teachers, but at the same time, I want to say that the education started at home. If we as a parent teach our kid to be polite and to be treating other people the same and have a respect for them, we're going to have another attitude from the kids in the school. And about the professor, of course, yes, but we need to work very hard. And the offer that the school system gonna have for those professors to have, for we having that diversity, because the professor that we have actually, they go to another city to impart classes. So if we don't have a good sources to offer it, then we don't gonna have that diversity. We don't have the way to have that diversity if we don't have all the sources that we need to make that happen. And I want to add something else. I am a little nervous. So for we have that diversity, we all need to work together. We all need to be put like a little bit, because It's not to be asking like, oh, we're gonna have a diversity, but how come we're gonna bring that diversity to our school? It's just not to request it then. We need to improve that happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I think that it'd be really wonderful to have diversity for our staff and in the faculty in the school. And it is a tough challenge, right, to go find the candidate and who particularly qualify to teach, because that's really the issue, right, that our children need to have a very wonderful foundation for, right, knowing math, knowing reading. I wish I had that. I was born in Cambodia. I came here as a refugee, and I had to struggle to learn. And you listen, I want to communicate better than the way I do now. And if I rob them of an opportunity to lay that foundation right now, to know the language that will put them in office as President of the United States, that's sad. So, but anyway, we do have someone who stepped up to the plate who's of color on the school committee. I'll be the first Asian, right? So yeah, maybe we'll start with that. Vote me in. Yeah. But yeah, quality is what matters for our children. Yeah.
Yes, diversity and representation does matter. I like to share a personal story with how representation matters and how it made a difference to me. My life was changed drastically in 1983. I was in the 6th grade. And for the first time, we saw something that just like blew our minds. And a gentleman came in. He was about 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", tall guy. And he knew all the slang. He knew what we were talking about. He knew all the jive talk, so we couldn't be slick. And he looked like us. His name was Jeff Bird. And he was the first African-American teacher I saw. And you know what? He believed in us. And I remember I remember we had a reading class, and he pulled me aside. He says, listen, you can't be in this class no more. And I was like, what are you talking about? You need to go with the other kids. And at there was another session of kids, right? They were all Caucasian. And it's not, I'm not here to say anything, but what I'm here to say is that he recognized my talents. And he said, no, you can read. And I'm like, no, I can't. He goes, yes, you can. And I think it was called advanced reading or something. And I remember him recognizing a lot of us and knowing our talents. And that made a big difference, a big impact in my life. You know, seeing somebody who looked like me, knew what we were talking about in the neighborhood, really changed us, and he made us feel like we belong. And you know, and I coach kids. I'm involved with a lot of kids. And when you're an educator, when you're involved with kids, it doesn't just last there. I see kids that I coached 13 years ago, and they straighten up a little bit. Hey, coach. You know, these grown-ass kids want to give me a hug. And you know what? You leave a lifelong impression on these kids. And I am forever grateful for Jeff Bird. I'll never forget that when we first seen him. So it does matter, and we need to find a way to bring representation, you know, especially diverse, a big diverse city. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments. I just want to add a little bit to that, what Lenny just said. Now, one of the main reasons why we asked that question, again, I kind of prefaced this whole thing by telling you that over 70% of the students that attend Lynn Public Schools are children of color, and less than 20% of the faculty are faculty of color. And in my view, and a lot of the people I work with, it does make a difference, but I'll share a quick personal story with you. It's very similar to one that Lenny just told. I went to Lynn Public Schools myself. All right, from our Head Start all the way to graduating classical high school. And throughout my tenure going to Lynn Public Schools, I had one African-American teacher throughout my whole tenure. I didn't see a African-American teacher until I was in the 5th grade. I was 10 years old. Had never seen one. Never seen one, all right? And that was Claudia Haynes. So to echo what Lenny's saying, it makes a difference, trust me. It makes a difference. Yeah. We want the best teachers to educate our children without a doubt. But like I've always said, we can find qualified African American, Latino, Asian American teachers as well as we can find anyone else. They are qualified. You can do it, and it does make a difference. Thank you all. Okay. Everyone's had an opportunity to answer that question. So at this time, we're going to give you an opportunity. I don't think we have any incumbents here. These are all challengers. All right? They're all challengers here. So we'll just go back and forth a little bit. Lenny, if you had an opportunity to ask either one of these challengers a question, could be about anything, or you may not have anything to ask them. In regard to education and why they're running, you can ask that question now.
I know everyone. It's been a long race, and we're all here, and you know we're all in this together. I know everyone has the right place in the heart for the kids. You know?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good luck. That's all.
My question?
If you have one, you don't have
Sure, yes. So either one of you or both of you, we're signing up to step up and serve the children, and we're going to have to face many difficult issues. Difficult decision, whether about negotiating for our teacher or the building, what to do with it, or how to find funding. And I've been told that whatever you vote, half of Lynn will hate you, and the other half will love you, and it's switch. So my question is, as you put yourself to the task and you face all the different challenges, what's that one hope you have for your work for the children that will keep your center, keep your joy, keep your strength to tackle each day, looking at the $148 million budget, keep you going? What's going to motivate you about this work and the outcome for our children? Yeah, what's one thing?
Ladies first.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Well, the first thing I would like to think is about the kid who have a special need, and the one doesn't have the opportunity to be involved in all the program of the school, because it seems like the special need be like a separate and don't be involved in a lot of activity. So I would like to work very hard on that, and I want to implement a lot of projects that I have to present it to the school committee table. And I hope all of the program that I have could pass and we can implement to the school. And another area that I want to be working at is to include the parents and have an office where they can go to the school and talking with the professional in charge over there, and they can express the struggling they can faces with the kid, or even to help the kid to do the homework, and then having a program where they can learning English and be participating in the school system more active.
Okay, thank you all for that. We're gonna finish with this. Ladies first. Sandra, your closing statement. Let everybody know why they should vote for you for school committee. 1 minute.
Okay. Everybody know my name, Sandra M. Lopez, and I requested one of you 6 votes in this election in November the 2nd. Why you should give me one of those votes? Because I have a lot of projects to put it on the table to be beneficiary, all our kids, the parent, and the teacher in the school. And because I'm going to be very strong, and I'm going to represent all of you, and I come with you both on November the 2nd. Thank you.
All right. 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you. What are we training our 5th grader for after they finish school? Our 8th grader. Our economy is changing. Are we training them for the coming economy, the knowledge economy? And so I propose that we eat this elephant together. We join hands, all of the Lynn resident voter, and let's build a technology school for Lynn. Let's change the curriculum so it's a technology curriculum for all of Lynn, so that we're preparing them for the future economy. We're kind of late, and we need to step up. technology is like a new language, right? And so you learn the foundation, and you can gamify those foundation for fifth grader, for elementary, so that when they get to be sixth grader, they can actually acculturate to and interested in technology. And I long to see we prepare ourselves as a city that will be the hub of innovation of the North Shore.
Thank you.
Well, I get a little emotional when I think about why I'm running. And I just want to answer to Poussin's. I'm going to iterate on what he asked, and I think I'll use that as my closing. I have several children, Poussin. I have three. I remember when I was a single dad with 3 boys. And I remember taking on the task. And I have 3 small children now. When I got to dress up my kids to go to school, when I look at my sons, my children, I want to see them have a fair share. When I see the kids that I coach on the field, that's my passion. I love children. I love this city. I went through many, many obstacles to be where I'm at. I fought a lot of battles. I have a lot of scars. Those scars can open doors that many can't walk through. I'm running because I really care about kids, and I have a passion for children, and I love my community. I'm a lifelong Lynn resident, and I'm a kid that they said that, I was one of those statistics, and I overcame all those things that they said that we can't do. And here I am, and I'm fighting for every child in Lynn, because every child deserves a chance. Everyone needs a voice. Everyone deserves a chance to be at the table, and that's why I'm here. That's my fight. My name is Lenny Pena. Please vote number 9 on November 2nd. Thank you.
All right, thank you all. That concludes our portion for the school committee. Let me just end with this. If you can see it, you can be it. If you can see it, you can be it. All right. Thank you all. Thank you. Ward 1 is running unopposed. That's Wayne Losey. All right, we're trying to go in order here. I got a call from Elizabeth Figueroa, who's running in Ward 2 with Rick Starbard. So I'm going to push them back a little bit. Elizabeth had a death in the family, and she's at a wake, so she's on her way. So we're going to push her back a little bit. So in Ward 3, I believe we have Coco.
What's the last name?
Coco Ansel. You gonna one more? I know you gave us like a lesson on how to say that. Can you do that one more time, Coco? Lynn Soon. Okay. Coco was running against George Memeteus, whom I don't see this evening. So, Coco, I'm going to have you come up. You're going to have the platform to yourself. All right, and just, okay. Coco's in Ward 3. So, Coco, we'd like you to just identify yourself, whether you're an incumbent or you're a challenger, the ward you're running for, and why you're running.
So my name is Coco Lynn Sug. Okay, Lynn Sug. I'm a challenger, but the incumbent right now, Darren, is running for mayor, so we're just candidates. Is this the opening statement part?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it is. Sorry.
So I am an American dream. Look at me. This Filipino, this Filipino kid running for city councilor.
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. Ready for city councilor. You know my story. I came here just to live my life, to find the love of my life, and my husband is there. We live in Lynn because it's the city that embraced us. The fact that we're here, we found a lot of friends here, and this is our home. We're not lifelong Lynners, but we chose this city because this is our home now. So you see me all the time. The moment I moved here, I became very active in the community. I've seen one woman today and said, "Oh, it's you again," because that's really true. Because I go from one events and one organizations and one neighborhood activities to the other. If elected or not elected, you will still see the same Coco's face over and over again. Thank you.
All right, Coco, we don't have a specific question for Ward 3 right now, but we're going to ask that you tell us, what do you think is the most pressing issue facing Ward 3 right now, and how would you go about solving that? You have 2 minutes.
I've been campaigning for 7 months, and I should be an expert of this question because we've been asked so many times. In every precinct that I go, from precincts 1, 2, 3, 4, and I would like to acknowledge the ward councilors' presence here. They're very unique in its own. They have their own issues and concerns, which is different from other precincts. The role of the ward councilor is just to make sure you address these issues. But the main and the biggest issue I've encountered, and I've mentioned this so many times, is the Kings Beach problem. The pollution, the smell. And you know, last night I had an amazing Zoom meetings with the Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach, and they've invited professionals, and we talked about the issues. I know I've been coordinating with a lot of the neighbors there, just trying to educate myself. As a first-time candidate, I need to look at you because of the timer. I really need to educate myself as well, because this is something that I'm not an expert of. I don't claim to know everything, but I always listen, and I'm a fast learner as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. All right, also, Coco, I'm going to let you end a little bit with this. Even though you're a ward counselor and you are bound for your district, you take care of their particular wants and needs within Ward 3, you're also a city councilor. So a lot of things happen within the city that you are also on the city council that you have votes upon. One of the main things that have been an issue in the city thus far, right now, it's going to come up a lot of times before we're over here tonight, is that we have a housing crunch. We have a housing crunch. If you were to offer the current ward councilors and the mayor a possible solution to this housing crunch and crisis that we have, what would it be? You have 1 minute.
We're done with conversations. There's a housing plan already approved by our city councilor, so thank you for that. My role would be moving forward is to make sure it's going to be implemented, and we're going to make sure that everybody's looking their eyes and making sure it's implemented properly. Is it a perfect one? No, but that's the role of the city councilors, and make sure that we have to revisit that over and over again. Ward councilors are independent of its own. I could influence having conversations with them. At the end of the day, it's their decision. We might have disagreements. We're different individuals, but the most important thing, I'm running for a councilor and I need their votes. So if I want to offer something there, I need to be friendly with these guys. Thank you.
All right, Coco, you have 30 seconds for your closing statement.
Look at me now. For 7 months, I've been campaigning. I've been debating alone by myself. That shows dedication there. I've never missed a single candidates forum. I've never missed questions, even though sometimes some of the questions I'm not familiar, but those are a wake-up call for me to learn. My presence here shows that you will see me all the time, right? I have a track record of serving the community. If I win, I will go to you. There's some Ward 3 residents here. I will listen to you. I'm an honest person, and if I don't know the answer, I'll find that answer for you. All right? Thank you very much. Vote for me November 2.
All right, thank you, Coco. Appreciate you.
Am I done?
You are done.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you. We're now moving to Ward 4. I believe we have Richard Colucci and Natasha Meji Madre.
It is hot in here.
Okay, thank you both for coming out. We're going to start with ladies first. Natasha, if you could tell us who you are and whether you're an incumbent or a challenger, the ward you're running for, and why you are running for Ward 4 City Councilor.
Awesome. In 1 minute or 30 seconds?
You have 1 minute.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Natasha Madri. I am running for City Council in Ward 4. Why? Because we need change. It is time for change. Looking at, I've lived in Lynn for the last 23 years, and Lynn has changed a lot over the last 20 plus years, and I'm running because I want to be a different kind of counselor. So I want to be a counselor that's going to be responsive, answer phone calls, and just like care about every single area of the ward, not just like certain streets. Our ward is huge, is really big, and I think that every single voice matters, and I want to make sure that we spend more time getting to know our neighbors and really knowing what's going on in the community. So that is why I'm running, because we just need change. It's time for change, and change is coming finally, and I'm so excited. But it won't come without people coming out to vote, so please come out and vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Natasha. Rich.
Hi, I'm Rich Colucci. I'm the city councilor for Ward 4. I've been city council for years now. I love what I'm doing. I work hard at it. I want to serve the people in the Ward 4. They call me, I call them back. I'm very constituent oriented, and I'll tell you this: you vote for me, and I'll get things done. Thank you.
All right, thank you both for that. Okay. To Natasha. Now, you're a challenger in Ward 4. Like Mr. Colucci said, he's the incumbent. He's been there for a number of years. But you feel as though change is coming, and change should come. What, if you could you give me maybe 2 or 3 things that you would change in Ward 4?
Absolutely. So number one, we need to have ward meetings. We do not have ward meetings currently in Ward 4, and we should have ward meetings. They should be at least once a month, because how else are we going to find out like what's going on in our ward? The second thing I want to implement is newsletters. I think we need to have newsletters, and we need to have them in multiple languages, because we are a very diverse community, and we need to be more inclusive and include everybody so that everybody feels like their voice matters. And the third thing I really want to push is just like the importance of voting. Like, it's so important to vote, and voting is key. Like, we had to fight for this right to vote. How can you not vote? And it's just so sad when I talk to fellow residents and they tell me, oh, I'm not gonna vote. What's the point? Nothing ever changes in this city. Well, it's not gonna change if you don't vote. So please go out and vote, because that is the way that we're gonna get change. I can't stress it enough. Just go out and vote. It's so, so important. Make your voice heard, if not for me, but for all the people that had to die for that right.
All right, thank you, thank you. All right, Mr. Colucci, like you've stated, you've been Ward 4 City Council for a number of years. If you could you cite for us 3 accomplishments you've made since you've been in City Council that you're proud of? Give us 3.
Infill housing on Union Street, affordable housing on Union Street, affordable housing on Herbert Street, affordable housing on Washington Street, affordable housing on a new development going up on Fenn Street. They didn't have to do it. I negotiated 5% affordable housing at 60 MRI. That's what I did.
Okay, that sounds very good. Thank you for that. Thank you. But for people that are unaware of this, I've heard you name these projects. What specifically was your input to make that happen?
The one on Union Street, it was the infill housing program back in the day. It was rooming houses with all drugs in them. And Richie Colucci met with Jancy Chandler at the time, the first ones, and then the housing authority took over it. And we did all the houses, and with affordable housing and all the units on Union Street now, and on Herbert Street. Go by, it's on my flyer, 7 Herbert Street. A nice complex with 50% affordable housing. 700 Washington Street. There was a lot that the city owned, was rat infested because it was dumped with, the guy had dumping tree stumps there. I negotiated the sale to the housing authority, and voila, you see the building on Washington Street. So I'm telling you, I was born in Lowell Street in Brickyard. When I was 2 years old, my parents moved to Circuit Ave. I've been a Ward 4 resident my whole life. I love the city, I love where I'm working, and I love doing what I'm doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you both, thank you both. Okay, Natasha, at this time, if there was one particular question you could ask your opponent right now, what would it be?
Thank you for that opportunity. Councilor Colucci, the question I have for you is, you've been the councilor for over 30 years, but when I walk around in Ward 4, plenty of people, especially in my area, do not know who you are. And my question for you is, why is that so? Why don't you have ward meetings? And what are you doing? So here's the thing. So like everybody talks about being a lifelong Lynner, and I hate that term because I feel like if you moved to Lynn today and you bought your house, you're still welcome in this city. You might not be a lifelong Lynner, but you should still feel welcome in our city, no matter how long you got here. Like, so what are you doing? So my question to you is, what are you doing to have ward meetings and to be more welcoming to new residents when they come to our city and our ward?
Okay, I had been ward meeting in Zoom.
Okay, one second. Mr. Colucci, you're going to have one minute to respond, and then you can ask your question.
Okay,
Respond to her.
Thank you. I had some Zoom meetings because of the COVID. We didn't, and then unfortunately, many of my constituents, they don't want to be seen or heard who they are because they don't want to have some reprisal. So I do ward meetings. If people don't know who the counselor is, all they do call City Hall and ask who's the counselor, and they'll tell you it's Rich Colucci.
Okay.
It's not like we landed on the moon in 1969. I'm good.
Oh, okay. Let me ask, does that answer your question, Natasha? Or rebuttal?
So my question was, what do you do to make new residents feel welcome in Ward 4? I don't think you answered that question. Like, what are you personally doing? So should these residents navigate the website that is really hard to navigate? So what is your plan to welcome new citizens, new residents to Ward 4 specifically?
Once again, anyone comes to Ward 4, they're welcome. If they call me, I'll accommodate them. I have very good constituent service, Natasha. Okay? And know what I say about change? Like David Bowie said, time may change you, but you can't change time.
I'm sorry you feel like I'm personally attacking you, and I'm not. I just want to, with all due respect, 30 years you've been a counselor. I'm only asking how, I'm telling you what people have told me when I've walked around the ward, and I'm just concerned for them. And, you know, for you to say that they should just go look you up and then you answer your calls. Plenty of people told me you don't answer their calls, you don't respond to emails, and if you claim you've had ward meetings, I've never been invited to one, ever.
Once again, you never called me, but you know who did? Your husband, and I fixed the driveway in front of his, the street in front of his driveway. So I think this is, you know.
Oh, okay. I'm going to just take this opportunity because we're on the edge right now. The ground rules, there will be no family questions involved. We're going to respect one another here. So now, Mr. Colucci, if you have an opportunity to ask Natasha a question, your challenger, what question would you put to her?
Why are you running for Ward 4?
Okay, thank you for that question. So I'm running for Ward 4. Again, I want to say it a few times just so everybody is clear. I'm running for Ward 4 because we need change. Time for change. It is time for change. I can bring a different perspective to the city. And when you look at City Hall, it's not as diverse as it needs to be. And we need to do better. And that is why I'm running for City Council, because so more little girls like me can know that they can run for office and they can make a difference too. I'm also an attorney. So I feel like being an attorney would bring something different to the table, something that you don't have.
Right, thank you.
Okay, 30 seconds to respond if you'd like. Rich?
I don't want to respond. I just want to say thank you for coming here tonight. Thank you for hearing us. And vote for me November 2nd. You won't be disappointed. Thank you.
Okay, at this time I'm going to ask that the Ward 4 councilors, we're going to start with Natasha. Right now, Natasha, in your view, what is the most pressing issue in Ward 4 right now, and how would you go about rectifying that?
Okay, so housing is the number one issue. When I'm talking to people in the ward, people are afraid that they're gonna be forced to move out of Lynn because the rents are just skyrocketing. They're just getting higher and higher and higher. And so many people that have lived there their whole lives here, like my daughter, she's 22, has lived here her whole entire life, and can't find another apartment. So because it's just too expensive. So what do you do? So I would advocate to implement the housing production plan because that is a starting point. And it's not perfect, but it's a start. And we need to start somewhere. And we need to just do better. We need to have exclusionary zoning. We need to make sure that everybody feels welcome in our city, that you're not being forced out if you want to stay here. That is what my biggest push will be, just to make sure that we improve communication, that if you want to stay in Lynn, that you're welcome here from day one. Thank you.
Mr. Colucci,
Yes.
what do you feel is the most pressing issue in Ward 4, and how would you rectify that
The
problem?
housing is an issue, but you know what? We passed the housing projection plan. I delivered on affordable housing, and I'm going to keep going with affordable housing. I know that I have a teacher friend. I know she's meets $60,000 a year. She has one, and I know she can't afford $3,000. We know this. It's not just Lynn, it's all over the country. We know this. No one's going to fix it overnight, and I'm just trying the best, doing it. And I've got a track record. You can look at my flyer in the back. Thank you.
Okay, that's very spirited. We started with Natasha, so we're going to end up with Mr. Colucci. Rich, you have 30 seconds for your closing statement.
Sorry to get all upset tonight, folks, but thank you. Thanks for coming out tonight. I appreciate it. I won't let you down when you re-elect me in November 2nd, and I will work hard for you. And my cell phone number is, take a pen out, 781-953-7970. Thank you, and thank you guys for hosting this.
All right. Thank you,
And
Rich.
God bless you guys. And by the way, my family is half minority. My wife's Dominican.
Okay. Natasha, your closing statement, 30 seconds to let people know why you should be the Ward 4 City Councilor.
First of all, thank you, Darrell and CMCC and everybody who had their hands in this event, because I think it's so, so important to have an event like this so that the voters can know who they're voting for. I think it's so important to be an educated voter. So I really appreciate, I know it's late, it's 8 o'clock, everybody's tired, nobody's eating. So I really, really appreciate all of you being here because it means a lot to me. It means a lot. And what I'm gonna ask you to do is not only just show up to these events, but also come out and vote. And when you vote, please, 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 just bring your neighbors, bring your friends, bring anybody who's interested. Just get them out, pile up the car, go home, bring more people. Just we can do this. We need change all across the board. So when you're looking at the ballot, just vote for new people. Just know that that's what we need. We got some powerful people running for school committee, some powerful people running for councilor at large. It is time for change. I can't stress it enough. Please vote for me. I guarantee you I might not have all the answers, but I guarantee you I will call you back and I will try to find the answer for you because that's what we need in our city. And I will promise you that. I won't make any promises that I will not keep. You will see me all the time, not just during election season. And that is my personal promise to all of you. And don't worry, I will represent you to Colucci when I'm elected on November 2nd. Thanks.
All right. I thank you to both of you, both of the Ward 4 candidates for City Council, Mr. Colucci, Ms. Medji Madre. Thank you very much. Now,
That was a debate. That was serious.
now, the Ward 5 City Councilor is Diana Chakoutis. She's running unopposed. Diana's not here this evening, is she? She's not here. Okay. Ward 6 City Councilor is Fred Hogan. He is here tonight. Fred, could you come up for a moment, please? Now, Fred, please identify yourself, the ward you represent, and why people should continue to have have you as the Ward 6 City Councilor.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Fred Hogan. I'm a lifelong learner, like everybody else says, right? But I welcome new people into this, into my ward, which is Ward 6. It's my home ward. It's where everything that I put together in my life happened right in West Lynn, off of the Lynn Commons, behind St. Stephen's Church, LaGrange Terrace, Marion Gardens area. And that's my passion, and that's what I ran on. And I have constituents in the building today right now, and they know and absolutely that I answer their calls. I don't just answer their phone calls. I come to their houses, and that's what I do. And I didn't say I was going to run on an election year because I do this 100 miles per hour every single day. And I didn't come into this here to do it just during election year or do it when I want to do it. You have to answer your phone calls. You have to see people. You have to go to them and help them with what they need. And that's what you're elected for. And that's what you're elected for. And that's why I got elected. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Fred. Again, Fred is running unopposed right now. But like we said, nothing is perfect, all right? In Ward 6, there may be some issues that are there. I don't live in Ward 6, so I can't speak to that. But Fred, being a Ward 6 city councilor, in your view, what's the most pressing issue facing Ward 6 right now, and how would you address that issue for your constituents?
Well, people know, another thing, well, people here might not know, but in my ward, I work at the wastewater treatment facility on Lynn Way. We have a flooding issue in Lynn that is affecting our residents. Every time it rains heavy, their houses are going underwater. I get petrified that we don't have a power outage during these rainstorms because a lot of them have sump pumps in their basements. We're safe on that level. But if we have a power outage in Ward 6 and their sump pumps fail, they're going to have thousands to thousands and thousands of dollars of damage to their houses. That's why when we have a storm, I'm out there. I'm letting people know what's going on. I'm checking on certain people. I'm checking on certain areas. Right now, we have the CSO project going on right now in the city. It's not going to solve all the flooding, but it is going to alleviate flooding. We have what's going to happen now when the rain hits. We're going to pump it straight out to the ocean, and the sewage will come to us at the wastewater plant. So that's going to help a lot. We're putting a major pump station on at Lynn Tech at the corner of our Commercial Street. It's going to have 5 major pumps in there with a bar rack that's going to take the stuff out. So that's going to pump right over, and we're going to take care of the wastewater plant. But I'm just hoping that we can alleviate some of this flooding with this project. So
okay, Fred, one quick. Thank you for that information, Fred. One quick thing before we let you go. Could you just identify maybe 2 or 3 streets that are directly affected by this flooding issue? 2 or 3 streets.
Absolutely. We got Bennett Street goes underwater every time, but it's not just Bennett Street. I've got a constituent here that Bennett Street flows over into the other side streets, which are Elm Street, which are South Street, and it flows down those styles. West Neptune, they all get it. So what's happening is we're running all these pipes through, so it's going to pull. But we're hoping that some of these streets will alleviate some of that flooding too. But the CSO project is very expensive, if you know. It's a very expensive project. So it does affect that part of West Lynn big time. And as Coco said, he was right. All our wards have different issues. You know, a Ward 1 issue isn't going to be a Ward 6 issue. But we have those issues. And it is our job. Our job is to answer the phone and take care of the people that voted for us. And that's why I say we are Ward 6, because I'm here to take care of the Ward 6 people first, but I do take care of the whole city. And other people know when they call me from other areas, I reach out to them also, but I also go to that ward council respectfully and say, hey, I'm going to help you out with this issue. And I do that, so.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Fred. In closing, you have 30 seconds to let people know why they should continue to support you as Ward 6 City Councilor.
I will not let up, all right? As you guys all say this stuff, you're frustrated with certain things. You will not see me let up, no matter what. I did not do this to be a part-time job. I do this full-time, and I do this for the people of my ward, and I do it for the people of the city of Lynn, and I will not give up. So thank you for having me today. Darryl, thank all you guys. You guys did a great job.
All right.
This is very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Appreciate it. The Ward 7 City Councilor is Jay Walsh. He's running unopposed as well. I don't believe Jay's here this evening. Okay. So that concludes our. What's that? Oh yeah, Ward 2. Okay. Okay, Ward 2. I don't know if Elizabeth came in yet. Did Elizabeth Figueroa come yet? Okay, so we have to move. I did get a call from Elizabeth. She's at a funeral, a wake. She had a death in her family, so she was trying to make it. But in the interest of time, we do have to move. The current Ward 2 City Councilor, Rick Starbard, is here. So, Rick, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I know it's a long night. Thank you to the Brotherhood for hosting this event again tonight. My name is Rick Starbard. I'm the current Ward 2 councilor. I'm serving in my 4th year, running for re-election for another term to serve another 2 years prior to be elected to the City Council. I served 6 years on the Lynn School Committee. Prior to that, I was a teacher at Lynn Tech for 14 years. I've been a small business owner in Revere. For the past 38 years, I own Rick's Auto Collision, a company I started at the age of 19. Had the opportunity to go back to my alma mater, Lynn Tech, and teach for 14 years, the most fun 14 years I've ever had in my life. I recognized that my perspective was lacking, technical education experience on the school committee, which prompted me to run for the school committee. I recognized that my business experience was lacking on the Lynn City Council, which prompted me to run for the Lynn City Council. And I bring those perspectives with me each and every day. I continue to use my education experience, my technical education experience, my business experience every single day. Even though I'm not on the school committee, I'm still quite active in Lynn schools. I was running late tonight coming from a meeting at Lynn Tech. So I'm very involved. I'm very involved with my constituents. Communications is key to any Ward 2 residents know through my newsletters that go out monthly, as well as updates throughout the month, regular Ward 2 meetings, and the Nextdoor app. We have over 900 Ward 2 members on that. Communication is key, and I think that Ward 2 residents are probably the most best connected in the city.
All right, thank you, Rick. Okay, Rick, again, you are the sitting Ward 2 City Councilor. What would you consider one of the most pressing issues right now facing you in Ward 2 in your constituents? And how would you go about rectifying that issue?
I think it's two, really. Public safety, public works. You know, some neighborhoods, the big concern is this condition of streets and sidewalks and trees buckling up sidewalks and damaging their walls and things like that, and working with DPW to get those things situated. Flooding issues. Lenny Pena gave him a shout out in my newsletter this month for taking care of a storm drain that the state wouldn't take care of on the other side of Buchanan Bridge because it was a state roadway. But Lenny Pena went down there and got the job done, so it made that roadway safer. Public safety, you know, people looking out their windows and they see drug dealing going on and it's trying to be proactive with the residents, trying to get them to use that anonymous tip line, trying to get them to tell me when there are predictable times when these things are happening, so that we can call the police and get them to stage a vehicle there, an unmarked car, to keep an eye on that. It's difficult because it goes throughout the city, but those are the two biggest issues: is public safety, public works. People want to feel safe and they want to drive down smooth streets.
All right, thank you, Rick. Okay. Rick, you have 30 seconds for your closing statement. Why should people continue to support you as the Ward 2 City Councilor?
Well, I hope that over the last 4 years that Ward 2 residents appreciate the job that I've done. We have some here. Again, I try to communicate things as quickly as possible. Being a business owner and self-employed, I have flexibility throughout the day that when concerns are addressed and sent to me, whether it's a phone call or email, through an app, through Facebook, whatever, I can jump on that and address it within minutes. If there's a meeting that pops up, like yesterday, the APA meeting down at City Hall, I was able to run out and spend an hour down there with having that flexibility. If you like my communications, if you like the job that I've done, then please vote for me on November 2nd to serve another term. And if not, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Rick. Thank you. Rick Starbard.
Thank you, everyone.
Councilors at large, again, there's going to be another, Mr. Encarnacion. Mr. Encarnacion requested that we kind of take him on one of the first ones here.
I'm sorry, but I call work, so I'm all set.
Oh, you're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Well, since you're already up here, keep coming. Come on, come on. All right. Mr. Encarnacion, along with Mr. LaPierre, come. We're trying to face off some incumbents with some challengers here. These gentlemen are councilors at large. Okay, we're going to start with Mr. Encarnacion. Identify yourself, the office you are running for, and why you are running for that position. Are you an incumbent or are you a challenger?
Good evening. It's not working? Good evening, everyone. Thank you, CMCC, for having us here tonight. Thank you to this lovely audience. My name is Jose Encarnacion. I've been here since a teenager, and I fall in love with the city of Lynn. My family owns a few businesses here. I'm married with 6 children. 4 of them are adults. They graduated from college, and I still had 2 in the public school. Married. I'm the number 7 of 13 wonderful brothers and sisters. And I'm running because I am committed to the city of Lynn, to our city, to its residents, and to make local government work better for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. LaPierre.
Thank you, Darrell, and thank you to the Community Minority Cultural Center, the Community Brotherhood for hosting us here this evening, and the African American Leadership Council. It's a real privilege to be in this space. I grew up in Ward 3 on Chatham Street, born and raised here with my family, and I remember when this building was acquired and the wonderful work that everyone did in this auxiliary, and it still continues today. It's a wonderful spot in Ward 3, and I'm proud of the work that's being done here by the volunteers of this board and so forth. So, about me, born and raised, graduate of Brickett Elementary, Marshall Middle School, then Eastern English High School, 30 seconds, Salem State College. I have degrees, bachelor's, master's, CAGs. I've been a school teacher for 12 years in the city. My wife's a teacher, Pickering Middle School. I have 2 children, 14, 11, that attend the public schools. I am here for you. I am here to answer your questions. I do return calls. I am very active on social media, both Facebook, Twitter. I do get back to folks. I try to do the work of the council on behalf of the residents that put me in a position of public office that I do not take lightly. I really, really take this job to heart, and I'm fully committed to working for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Your question is going to be this. We all realize that there's a housing crisis across the country, in the state, and also in the city of Lynn. People not only need more housing made available to them within the existing structure and in new development, but existing and new housing developments that they can actually afford for themselves and their families. What are your thoughts on the existing housing development plan, and what would you plan as an alternative to curb this housing crisis and make living affordable for all of Lynn's residents? We're going to start with Mr. LaPierre.
Okay, thank you, Darrell. First step was passing the housing production plan, which I was a vote in favor of. One of the prevailing votes on that plan. It is a roadmap to see how we do and what we do. We've got to continue to build affordable housing and get developers, if it's not privately invested development, and if they're coming to the city for any type of incentive, we must intensify by making sure we identify enough affordable housing across the city. I think we're doing that. The waiting list is unbelievable. It's 6,000 people across this city are waiting on some form of housing. And they're on fixed incomes, and they're usually a senior population, and they have limited resources. So what I will do is continue to work on projects like the Union Hospital project, where folks folks aren't having to leave Lynn because they're downsizing and they can't afford single-family taxes, but instead they'll go into apartments, they'll be downsizing that are reasonable, but they're in nice locations throughout the city. Veteran housing on the Commons, the old Armory. I support that as a housing authority project. I also support the many infill housing like on Murphy Ave that we've done, and recently the Thurgood Marshall Middle School that can become affordable senior housing in Lynn. That's a start, it's not a finish. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Encarnacion, same question?
The cost of living is going crazy. Most low-income families cannot afford to pay for the high rent today. I'm glad, I'm happy that they approved the Lynn housing plan, but now we have to work hard to implement it. And I'm going to be willing and able to work hard with the other elected officials to make sure that that plan passes. One of the 30 seconds, wow. Well, one thing that I am in favor of is the inclusionary zoning. I believe that we should put aside at least 15 to 20% of those buildings that are building new units, 15 to 25 to 20% for low-income family, because there's no way the family can, it's impossible with working even 2 jobs and 3 jobs. We paying too much money on rent, so that need to change. Thank you.
All right, thank you both. Thank you both. Okay, just as a rebuttal to that, just a little bit, I'm going to ask that Mr. LaPierre, you elaborate a little bit more about the Linfield Street Union Hospital program, the development up there. Again, I'm not totally aware of all these things, so I'm asking you. I heard that was supposed to be senior housing there. Is that correct? Yes. It's all senior housing, so is that subsidized in some? What makes a senior eligible to be up there?
Yes, it's so thank you, Darrell. 55 age or above. It's going to be the front part of that parcel where Union Hospital was, apartments. So there'll be studio and 1 bedroom for the most part. And then what you'll have is 26 single-family homes in the rear part of that section where the helicopter pad used to be for the hospital. So you have a tremendous responsibility and a partnership to have a lot of the Element Care services for our seniors that will be right on site in that medical village. So we have the urgent care facility, then we're going to have Element Care doing programming right on site at the old hospital site, and then you'll have single-family, 1-level houses in the rear of that, and there will be some affordability, and a lot of it will be for our seniors who are downsizing in that immediate area, who cannot afford to stay in a big house that has a large tax, annual tax, property tax bill, that they can now be able to stay in Lynn in very nice living arrangements.
All right, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Mr. Encarnacion, could you elaborate a little bit on the inclusionary zoning portion that you mentioned earlier? What exactly is inclusionary zoning, and how would that help us in this program?
Well, the inclusionary zoning is, as I said, is a portion of those, a percentage of the units of any developer that they're building right now. A percentage should be set aside for low-income family. We have other cities who have implemented it. We have Peabody, we have Cambridge, and we have other cities in the area of Massachusetts, and it's been working. It's been working for the low-income family, for the hard-working family. So, and I would propose that to be implemented. Once I get elected, I'm going to talk to my other elected officials to work together to make that happen for our low-income family. More than 50% of our family of Lynn, they don't own a house. I do not own a house. So we have to work hard, and the money that we make is not enough. Everything's going to paying the rent. And for those who own houses, it's hard because they're paying too much in taxes. So even for homeowners, it's very hard. So we need to work together to implement ways, find ways to help our Lynn residents, either those who are renter or and those who own houses.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. All right, Mr. LaPierre, do you have one question you might have? Did someone mention? Okay, Mr. LaPierre, do you have a question for Mr. Encarnacion?
Sure. So I guess my question would be a practical question. What would you do, let's say we get calls as counselors all the time, if, for example, a resident had a fire in their home and was displaced and didn't have immediate housing or was being evicted? What would you say to that person, or what direction would you point them in to help them get back on their feet?
Okay, 1 minute to respond.
Thank you. That's a great question. We work for the people. And once we get someone to call us, even if we don't have an answer, we're going to find that answer. We're going to find the way to help those family. I would, if I don't have the answer right there, I would talk to anyone that I need to talk in the city, any local government, any agency, the city hall, the fire department, whoever that I need to talk. I will find the answer if I don't have one. So I will listen to them, and together we're going to find a way to help them.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Encarnacion, a question for Mr. LaPierre.
Good evening. Sorry, I have a lot of respect for Mr. LaPierre. So my question will be, what have you done during your time as a counselor? What have you done for transparency in the local government?
Thank you, Jose. That's an excellent question. I would just say I am on social media a lot. A lot of the votes we take are sometimes difficult votes. I have tried my best to put out whatever's happening across the city, give my opinion on it, and speak on the council floor either in favor of it or not in favor of something. I've been on 10-to-1 votes before. I'm not afraid to vote against something that I don't believe in or that my constituents have advised me that that's not the best direction for the city. Specifically speaking, right now I am so proud of what we've done across the city, looking at housing for one, public safety, littering, transparency in the budget, passing a budget, going from a $14 million deficit to having over $30 million now in reserves that we never would have had before. The city is on the right trajectory. I want to work with the new mayor. I want to work with the new council president to continue that vision and move this city and take it to new heights. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. LaPierre is on a roll, so Brian, you have 30 seconds for your closing statement.
I'll be here all night. It's great. I love it.
Timekeeper.
Thank you,
30
Darryl. Yes, thank you, Darryl. And thank you, everyone. I'm really humbled to be before you. I think this is my 4th time appearing here at the Brotherhood, seeking your support. As I said, I do not take this job lightly. I appreciate everyone in this room that's taken the time, get to know me, my family, supportive of me. You get what you get when you get me, I guess. I'm a real, I leave myself on my sleeve. I'm very transparent. I'm open. I try to do the best for Lynn citizens. I try to work collaboratively with my colleagues, and I respectfully ask for one of your 4 votes again on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Mr. Encarnacion, 30 seconds for your closing statement.
I have a passion for public service. I love serving the people. Let's work together to make Lynn a better place to live, a better place to work, and a better place to raise our children. I respectfully ask you to give me one of your 4 votes. I'm always available, always accessible. Please vote for me. I'm number 3, Jose Encarnacion. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you both. Thank you both. Thank you. Jose Encarnacion and Brian LaPierre. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to have, thank you. Next, we have Brian Field and Nicole McLean.
on, man?
How are you?
Okay, we have candidates for councilor at large. Mr. Field.
Ladies first.
Well,
Ladies
you
first.
didn't know what my question was going to be.
The ladies first.
Unless.
Can I?
It was killing me when
Listen.
Sandra was up here. I was like, what is this? What's going on?
Well, I was getting to that. I was simply saying that Mr. Field is an incumbent. Ms. McLean is a challenger. We have been going with ladies first this evening. So, Ms. McLean, could you identify yourself, the office you are running for, and why you are running for that office?
Okay. My name is Nicole McLean. I'm running for councilor at large in the city of Lynn, obviously. And the reason why I am running is because I grew up in this city. I am, like people keep on saying, a Lynn native. I was born at Stop and Shop. You know what I mean? This is where I live. This is where I have been all my life. I grew up in Marion Gardens, and I love this city from where I've grown up. You know, everybody's experienced Lynn in different ways. There's immigration, there's, you know, upper class, there's poverty, there's all types of ways to experience this city. And from the way that I've experienced it, I want to be at the table to make that struggle known. So that's why I am running for office.
Thank you. Mr. Field.
Thank you everyone for being here tonight. I apologize if I sound a little off. I had a COVID booster just a couple of days ago, and it's been kicking my butt pretty good. So I apologize. But I wanted to be here with you. No matter how small or how big the crowd is, I think it's important that anyone running for city government listens to your ideas and your concerns. And these are the best way to do it, right here in person. So it's been an honor to serve as one of your counselors at large for the last 3.5 years. I've been serving the city and residents of the greater Lynn area for over 25 years as a funeral director. And I think both jobs coincide with one another. I've been a funeral director, like I said, I've been a funeral director here for over 25 years, and it's not a 9-to-5 job, it's a 24/7 job. And I kind of joke with family and friends in a kind of backwards way where I say, you know, I don't have days off, I just have days when I'm out of the office. Because it becomes so personal sometimes that families call me on my cell phone. And it doesn't matter whether I'm at one of my daughter's soccer games, my son's hockey games, I'm out to dinner with my family, I'm always going to be able to help. And I have the support of my family to do that. It's carried over into city government. As a councilor, I've said that I'm effective. I say that I'm responsive. I say that I'm hardworking. And I think over the last 3.5 years, I've shown that. That's why I'm running with their support. And again, with your support, I can continue to do that for the next 2 years. So I respectfully ask for your vote on November 2nd to continue doing that. Thank you.
Okay. This is a rather long question, but I often felt this is very important as well. And I'll explain a little bit later as we go on with this. A couple of years ago, Lynn was profiled on Channel 5's TV show Chronicle. We saw and heard all about the revitalization of Lynn. They spoke about the waterfront development and real estate. They spoke of restaurants like Rossetti's and Taco La Pita and R.F. O'Sullivan's, Trios, the Blue Ox, and Old Time Italian. They spoke of the public art and murals and how the Arts and Cultural District, which includes Lynn's Museum and Auditorium. We know that Lynn is a great city with a lot of potential and the potential to be even better than it is. Lynn has an abundance of natural resources and is only 8 air miles from one of the great international cities of the world. We are a 25-minute train ride from downtown Boston. I think we all agree that Lynn has a great deal of potential. And increased businesses and development would do wonders for our tax base. Now let me say this to you. One of the things that was noticeably missing in all of that revitalization talk about the city of Lynn was the presence of African American businesses in restaurants and culture. There are very few black-owned businesses and eateries operated by African Americans. As a city councilor, what would you do to aid African American development for new businesses and increase our tax base? We are going to start with Mr. Field.
Okay. Thank you for the question. It's an important question, and I think the best way for me to answer it as a counselor is to look at just last year alone. Okay, when we saw what happened with our own eyes on TV and what we were facing as a nation, and to bring it back home and what we had to deal with back in our own city, where there was a lot of things that we just didn't know, okay? And it takes a humbling person to sit back and to listen so that we can recognize these inequities that are happening all across America, but more importantly here. And, you know, I sit next to Nicole, and I respect all the work that she did last year to educate myself and so many others within our community so that we can work together. And like I said, I respect everybody running for council, any public office. It's not an easy job. We learn from one another. We work well together on the current council, and we know there's going to be at least one new councilor this year in Ward 3. Whether there's new councilors in our position at councilor at large or other wards across the city, we learn from one another. We learn from the residents, and the best way to do that is to listen.
All right, thank you. Ms. McLean, same question.
Okay, well, the issues of Black America are near and dear to my heart. This is not the only issue that I'm willing to tackle as a counselor at large, but the Community Minority Cultural Center and the Brotherhood are the only Black-owned establishments on the North Shore. This is a place that I have grown up in, and that we come to this place as Black Americans to have functions, to do various events, and this is a gem in our community. And I don't hear anyone ever talking about it. So I'm sorry if I'm getting choked up, but it is a really important place in our community, and we need to really maintain this establishment. I think access is the answer to this question. We need to give our Black Americans, our Latino Americans, access to various programs, to various resources, and really target them. People need to reach out to these communities, not just wait for them to ask questions, but to go out and find them and ask questions of them. So I think that is the way that we are going to really move forward on this, is if we give access to these communities and not wait for them to come to us, but go to them. They want the answers, they want the resources. We need to be the ones to get out there and give those resources to them.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Nicole, very passionate. Thank you. Now, this question is going to be to both of you, actually. It's just a rebuttal to what you just said. It is important that elected officials take some initiative in trying to make any type of business flourish and get off the ground. Over 50% of all businesses that start fail, they tell you. Over 50%. So, as an elected official, I'm going to start with Nicole this time. Would you work with the incoming mayor, Chamber of Commerce, a small business association, anyone, to try to initiate, create some sort of initiative to identify young entrepreneurs of color, African-American entrepreneurs, to help them and aid them, somewhat of a roadmap to how to start a business, how to get it going. As an elected official, we'll start with you, Nicole. Would you be in favor of that? And do you have any particular ideas on how you would?
I do have particular ideas on how I would address that issue. My husband and I worked with Shop Sin, and we were trying to bring in various Black American and Latino American youth to show them how to create a business plan, to show them how to reach out to EDIC and get the resources that EDIC was providing. So this is something, I mean, working with entrepreneurs and building them up is something that I'm very passionate about. So yes, I will also work with Lynn Main Streets. I know John Andrews and Tia Cole, who also are working toward making sure that Lynn's entrepreneurs are being, just built up and, given the tools they need in order to be successful. So I have a plan, I do, to work with entrepreneurs in our community and to better establish businesses in our community that are already established right now. There's so many different culture is African from the African diaspora culture. There's Latin culture businesses that are really hurting right now after COVID, and we have so many things that we can provide to them as far as from Lynn Main Streets and also from just the Small Business Association in the EIC. So yes, that is on my purview, and I am all for it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Mr. Fields, same question, follow-up?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's certainly, there's so many opportunities for people within the city. It's a very diverse city. I know I've personally been involved with the North Shore Latino Business Association for many years as a representative from the funeral home. And I think there should be certainly organizations like that for African American community and other communities here within the city, because it benefits the business owner, the young entrepreneur, to have a workforce behind them. EDIC has a lot of grant money available for these startup businesses to hope, and to help these young entrepreneurs with the success, because a successful business here in the city is a successful city. So it certainly comes at no surprise to anybody here that you want to see everyone do well, because it benefits everybody here. But just, you see what businesses that just out of nowhere, they have great ideas and they need our support. I think the council's been pretty good about that. If I'm elected again, I'd certainly hope to continue doing that. I know I've guided some folks to EDIC in the past, and they've had success with their business, and I'd love to do it again, helping more. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, Brian, again, if there's one question you could ask a challenger like Nicole, what would that question be?
Thank you. Like I said, I respect everybody running for office, but my question for Nicole is maybe, of the 11 current councilors, which one do you think do you respect the most, or do you look towards, for guidance? I know I've been asked sometimes, who do you think's, I don't know if it's doing the best job to represent your beliefs, or who you could connect with if you were elected?
Of the incumbents, I'm going to have to say the Bryans. I do. I like Brian LaPierre's work ethic, and I like Brian Fields' emotion and feeling that he brings to the table. So it's the Bryans for me.
All right, thank you. Nicole.
Got my vote.
Nicole, do you have a question for Brian Fields?
Steve, make sure that's a headline tomorrow, okay?
Any questions, Nicole, for Brian?
Oh, sure. Brian, you've been doing this for a while now. I think you have 2 terms under your belt, correct?
Yeah.
Is it 2? So what has been your success? Like, what do you think has been the best thing you've done for the city of Lynn?
Man, there's a lot of good things that we do together, so it's hard to take credit for anything, but I know some of the tougher issues like litter, and man, we look around the city and how dirty it is. And that's one of the issues that I reached out to our council president to create a committee just to focus on the litter problem. So those are issues that affect everybody. It's a quality of life issue. It affects businesses. It affects our perception of people that are coming here to visit, whether they're coming to a show at the Memorial Auditorium or they're coming to support one of the local restaurants within the city, they're looking at a dirty city, and it affects everyone. So we created a subcommittee just for that, and we've made investments. We've reached out to business owners and residents, and we recognize that it's not just city's not going to solve the problem alone. It's going to take a lot of buy-in from the residents and businesses. But as a city, we've made investments into those particular areas with new equipment, new personnel to address those issues. So, I'm not afraid to take on those tough issues, whether it shows it or it doesn't show it. But we're working hard for those.
All right, thank you, Brian. Nicole, 30 seconds for your closing statement.
All right, asking for your vote on November 2nd because I represent a lot of disenfranchised groups in our city. I am a woman, I'm a Black person, I am a veteran, and I am asking for one of your 4 votes on November 2nd because I can bring that lived experience. I'm a mother, I'm a daughter of a single parent household. I grew up in poverty in this city, this very city of Lynn. And I really believe that I can bring a new perspective to local government. No one on this council or incumbent or, candidate can speak to my experience. So I really ask for one of your 4 votes on November 2nd. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brian, 30 seconds for your closing statement.
It's going to be quick in 30 seconds, and I don't want to talk about myself. I want to talk about all the candidates here. We've been working so hard over the last 6-7 months just to reach out to all of you, to earn your support. And the toughest part about being a counselor is the time that we have to spend away from our own families. We certainly have the support from them to be able to do that. And even those that aren't elected yet, and the work that they're putting in, there's things that we're missing in our own families' lives just to knock on doors. So what is important is that you do vote. Whoever earns your vote during this election year, give them the 5 minutes it takes, because my family and I are willing to sacrifice the next 2 years, making a difference in the lives of everyone here. We all ask that you spend the 5 minutes on election day to vote for the person or persons that earned your vote over the last 6 months. So as one of 4 councilors at large now, it's been an honor to serve you over these past 4 years, and I respectfully ask for one of your 4 votes, and I hope I've earned it from you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you both. Thank you both. Thank you. All right, next we have Hong Net and Marvin Hippolyte.
It's hot in here, Darryl. I ain't bet the debate this hot yet.
We are good. We are good. All right, thank you, gentlemen, for coming out. We're going to start with Marvin. Identify yourself, the office you're running for, whether you're an incumbent or a challenger, and why you're running for that position.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me. My name is Marvin Hippolyte. I'm running for councilor at large. Grew up downtown. I've been involved with a lot of nonprofits, mainly Neighbor to Neighbor, doing a lot of civic engagement work. And over the years, we've been really bringing up this housing issue. My team and I, we were bringing up this housing issue, and everybody thought it wasn't an issue. And I'm running because I'm very scared that the majority of us are going to be pushed out. It's already happening. People are really struggling to get by in the city, whether you rent or you own a home. And I want to make sure that the people are empowered enough to make the decisions that they need to move forward and to include every single one of us in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Hong?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hong Net. I'm a city councilor at large right now. I'm honored to be here tonight. It's so wonderful to see everyone again. This is I don't know how many times I've been here, but I always enjoy to be here and love it here. As you know, I was born in far away on the other side of the planet, a small country called Cambodia. Nobody knew Cambodia was until you tell them that close to Vietnam, they know because of Vietnam War. And so I have been pushing around all my childhood until I came to the U.S., so I had a stable place to stay, and I feel like I owe so much to Americans, and I want to give back, and especially to Lynn, because I moved to Lynn 24 years ago. I raised married here. my children was born here, and they went to school here. Now they're all in college, and run for council at large for 11 years ago, and they give me the opportunity. So that's why I feel that I owe Learners, and I want to do the best I can, and I have been proud to serve everyone with honor and respect. And once again, I respectfully ask for your 4 votes on November 2nd, so allow me to continue to represent you across the city, not just a certain group. And I'm very proud to do that, and I hope I will have the opportunity to continue to work on many issues that we need to accomplish together.
Thank you. Okay, the question. We're going to start with Marvin. The question is, certain sections of the city have expressed feelings of having to shoulder a disproportionate part of the city's property tax revenue, along with seemingly constant increases in water and sewer bills. How do you plan to ease the burden of rising property taxes and water bills for these residents?
Our property taxes, water bills, all these things are going up because we're a low-income city. So in order to do that, we need to bring in more businesses into the city. I think right now the city has really been focusing on bringing in market rate housing. I think, there is a place for that, but that's not what we should be focusing on, right? I have a plan to create a constituent service program for each and every councilor to free up their time so that they can actually bring in more businesses into the city. I was able to help bring in One Mighty Mill. I wasn't even elected. And that brings in new jobs, it brings in new money into the city, and it kind of lightens up the burden on the people. So that would be my focus, and that's how I would make it happen.
Thank you. Hong, same question?
Yeah, the city council have been working to keep the lowest taxes possible in our city. We have the lowest tax around, probably in North Shore right now, and that's not when the properties goes up. Of course, the tax go up, but we don't have much control over that. But we have the control that to keep the tax as low as possible. But we have been doing that, and like Marvin said, yeah, business, of course, we have to bring more business to Lynn, and I already started. So I own a daycare center with other people, and we hired over 20 people, professional, talk about directors, nurses, social workers, and many people attend there, including a lot of Haitians. I'm so proud to see them. They're so happy. And so, yeah, that also I have been helping a lot of people to bring business to Lynn, like a doctor offices, restaurants. So all those things, and we have to continue to promote our city, so that way they have comfortable, and so we have to cut up some red tape so that the business owners feel comfortable and secure enough to come to the city so we can help them. And so I'm proud to have been doing that, and that's what the only way to bring revenue to our city. Thank you.
All right, just to follow up, Marvin, you've expressed that bringing in new businesses to the city would help build up the tax base. And Hong, you pretty much agreed to that. Are there any particular businesses that you think would thrive better, that are more conducive to being in Lynn, and how we might be able to attract those businesses?
Yeah, so Lynn, historically, we've made things. And, when you look at the demographic makeup of the city, a lot of people work with their hands. So we should really be looking into, manufacturing. Like, Boston has a bunch of these biotech firms. And we've got a bunch of, these empty buildings. It's kind of crazy to me that we haven't even already thought of that, to be quite honest with you. But, yeah, that would be the focus for me.
Hong, same question?
Yeah, so I had worked with EDIC and the mayor's office and business owners. So we brought them to the city hall, and we had lawyers to explain how the policy and what the resources we can help them when they move to Lynn, when they want to open a business in Lynn. And it was quite successful. And because of pandemic for this couple of years, so it's very hard for us to do any much. And also, every year for the past 10 years, I brought 6,000 to 7,000 people come to the Commons every year, and we brought tons of money to our city. And that's the thing that I had been doing, and I will continue to do that when things come back to normal again. Thank you.
All right, thank you both. Hong, is there one question you may want to ask Marvin as a challenge. What question would you ask him if you have the opportunity, which is now?
Marvin, don't get upset, all right? I'm just kidding.
Lay it on me.
You know,
I like tough questions. Lay it on me. Bring it, Hong.
Okay, so if you elected, you will represent the whole city, and you know that's about 60 spoken languages in the city, and we represent everyone, and all those people came here because of the political reason, the economic reason. So they feel that Lynn is a great place because we have the open government, and our elected officials, it's very kind and very nice to them. I've been through, I lived through under all those horrible regimes, but they reach out to me that they still afraid of the law enforcement and authorities. We are the authorities. So if you elected, will you support or propose to put up a portion of money so the resident can request for police or firefighters or people in the city, including us, have some kind of training if they want to? Will you support that? Because we know that each culture have different perspective and like more sensitive than others. Will you support that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if people have been following the election, I've been hammering on this staff thing. Like, just give you a quick example. The capital of Vermont is Montpelier. It has a population of about 8,000. They have a mayor and a 4-member council. Each ward in Lynn represents between 12 or 13,000 people. And they have one council and not one staff in 65 different languages. That is absolutely insane to think that a council is going to answer all those phone calls. And that's one of the things that's holding us back. So what I would do is they could be volunteer at first. You could get some of the young high school folks, some seniors, people who speak different languages, and actually go out there and meet the people where they're at, so that it's like people that they feel comfortable with, and actually get that conversation going so that authority is a little bit less scary and that people are more involved. And also free up the councilors' time. Your jobs are not hard. Your jobs are pretty hard. So, think about it. I'm pitching this idea.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you, Hong. All right, Marvin, you're on the roll. You have 30 seconds for your closing statement.
My name's Marvin Hippolyte. I've been at this for 6 years straight. My team and I, we've personally registered close to 2,000 people to vote in the city. We've increased the voting percentage. We've done a lot of work, and I'm not flashy about it, but I do it because I'm passionate. And, I'm one of y'all, I thought I was the only renter. Where's my man, Jose? I didn't know Jose was renting too. So I was saying that. So somebody's going to have to correct me. But I'm a renter. I'm a young person. You know what I mean? I can communicate in 4 languages. I do the work. I have the experience. I worked at the Congressman's office. I know how to serve the public. And I would humbly ask you for one of your 4 votes so that we can move the city together. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Marvin. Thank you. Hong Net, 30 seconds for your closing statement.
Thank you. My name is Hong Net again. I respectfully ask for your vote on one of your 4 votes on November 2nd. And I also want to thank everyone for voting for me and on the primary. And, so it was wonderful, and I really appreciate your effort. And it's so wonderful to see everyone. And I think I have done a pretty good job, and I work well with everyone, not just my colleague in the council, with everyone. So I'm kind, I'm humble, I'm honest. I don't go around and stab people's back. So I know I'm not a loudspeaker, but I do the best I can. And I respect you for your vote. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you both. Thank you both.
I didn't get to ask Hong a question.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't get to ask Hong a question.
Sorry.
That's crazy, yo. The disrespect, man. I'm teasing.
Wow, I missed that. Okay.
I'm teasing. Well, my question for Hong, I'm gonna put you on the hot spot, Hong. I've been pitching this constituent service idea for damn near 4 years. Hong, if you happen to be reelected, will you promise to get staff to make it easier for you to reach out to people from different cultures and make your life easier?
I cannot promise you, but I have to look at the budget first. So whether from my own
It can be
salary-
volunteer. It can be volunteer.
Okay, all right, volunteer, yes.
Okay.
Volunteer, definitely, I promise. So I will.
On paper, we got Hong Net.
Yes, all
Let's
right.
get the other councilors.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, thank you. I'm sorry, Marvin. I'm sorry. Thank you both, thank you both. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your indulgence. Now we're gonna have the mayoral, I think that's all the councilors at large, correct? Jared Nicholson and Darren Sear, your candidates for mayor of the city of Lynn. Okay, thank you both. Thank you both. We're going to go by the same ground rules here. Please identify yourself, the position you are running for. We know that's mayor, but we want the people to hear this. All right? Whether you're incumbent or do you hold a specific position right now, or are you a challenger? We're going to start with Jared.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the Community Brotherhood for hosting and the CMCC as well for putting this on. Really grateful for this opportunity to say hello. So my name is Jared Nicholson. I'm running for mayor of Lynn to help with the recovery from COVID and to push for growth that benefits the whole city, that includes all of us. I'm currently on the Lynn School Committee in my third term. My day job, I'm a law professor at Northeastern. I'm also a dad to my son, Henry, and husband to my wife, Catherine, who's a nurse midwife at Mass General. And I am running to provide the forward-thinking leadership that we need to recover and grow in this moment in the city of Lynn. I bring deep experience on education issues from my work on the school committee and deep experience on city issues from my work as a lawyer and a law professor in housing and economic development, and look forward to discussing those issues tonight. Thank you.
All right. Darren.
Thank you, Darrell. My name is Darren Sayre. I'm the City Ward 3 Councilor, which we're here tonight, so I welcome you to Ward 3. I've been a city councilor for 16 years. I always say this, I've lived the Lynn life experience. It's given me the experience to be able to get to where I am today. I've lived 62 years in the city of Lynn. I've always worked 2 jobs. We live in the most diverse city in the world. I grew up on Herschel Street, which is like a quarter of a mile from this location. Went to Avon School, Easton Junior High, graduated Lynn Tech. I've always had to work 2 jobs like many people in this room have. My entire life has been service to the city. I've always been a union dues paying member. I've worked in the mayor's office. I've worked on the city council for 16 years. I've been a council president. I faced every single challenge you can imagine, from a pandemic to a $14 million deficit, to making sure that we didn't go into receivership. I've worked on affordable housing. I've worked on senior housing. I've worked on zone changes in the city. I've worked as the council president, and I've led the council president, and I think I've proven my leadership. I think I can move our city forward. Does that mean I'm done? Okay, thank you. Sorry I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, we're going to get to it. Okay, we're going to be as precise as we can. For the mayoral candidates, there will be 5 questions. It's going to be education. It'll be, yes. Yes. Okay. It'll be education, public safety, city image, okay, minority hiring, and the last one. Business. I think, is that 4? I got 3. There'll be 5. Trust me. Okay. We're going to start with public safety. And we're going to start with Jared. No, excuse me, Jared started with the introduction, so we'll start with Darren, excuse me. Last year, cities across the country, including here in Lynn, erupted in protest because of the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and many others at the hands of police. Last year, we also protested the false arrest and brutal beating of Victor White by the Lynn police. But these incidences did not happen for the first time last year. For generations, African Americans and other people of color have been brutalized by police according to the police's own data. Force is used disproportionately against black men. We also know that Lynn and other places across the state, police use force most often when dealing with people experiencing mental health crises. The City Council just passed a $500,000 fund for an unarmed crisis response team, but details have not been finalized yet. The Lynn Racial Justice Coalition supports a model in Oregon that sends healthcare crisis professionals to respond to nonviolent emergencies and call the police for backup only when needed. It has proven safe and effective. In 31 years of operation, they have called the police for backup less than 1% of the time and have had zero injuries to members of the team. Do you believe that the unarmed crisis response team is a good way to address systemic racism and police brutality while also providing services to people experiencing mental illness and other behavioral health challenges? If yes, what do you believe is a good model for the unarmed crisis response team? If no, how would you prefer to address systemic racism and police brutality? We're starting with Darren.
So I can't answer yes or no to that question because I don't know what goes on across the country. I don't have enough information. What I do believe is that we should have better training, more advanced training for our police officers as well as for our firefighters. I do know that there's been a problem in the city, and every time something, especially in the last year or so, happens, it's taken care of. Police officers have had to resign. I don't think anybody, because of the color of their skin or their nationality, should not feel safe in the city that they live in. I do believe that everybody should be treated equally across the board. I know that there have been some issues that have been risen in the last year and a half. I think that the city council, I think the mayor, and I think the police are looking at that, trying to work with the community. We have to do a better job. As I said earlier, I've lived here my entire life, and I've never known that there had been a problem in the city until I actually sat with you, Darrell, and you explained to me the difference between yourself and me, why over the years that you felt the way that you did. I've had many friends of color, and we've never had that discussion. The first time I ever really had that discussion was with you in my office on a Saturday morning. You enlightened me. You made me look at things a little differently, and I still do. Whether or not that I just don't feel an unarmed response team in Lynn at this time would keep our law enforcement and our firefighters safe. I want to look at it. I don't want to commit to it until I know a lot more about it. Every time I talk to a police officer, they're reluctant. When I talk to 911 operators as well, because they're the ones that would have to make the decision. We have many groups in the city that help our mental health issue problems, people that have addictions. They're the ones that usually are called when there's a crisis or an issue. By the time it gets to the police, they can't handle the situation. And that's why I feel the way that I do.
Okay, Jared, same question, and then I will add to and rebut after.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So my answer is yes, I do support the unarmed crisis response team. I think that it's absolutely a important next step from the work that's been done in the city over the last year and a half with the Lynn Racial Justice Coalition, that the work that the Lynn Racial Justice Coalition has done with the mayor's office, with the Lynn Police Department to move our city forward on these issues. You know, I think we all want the same thing. Ultimately, we want more peace in the community. And we're talking about another strategy to move us towards that goal. And while it's not something that we've done in the city of Lynn yet, that doesn't mean that it's not a promising program. And I think it's part of the responsibility of the mayor to seek out information on best practices on what's happening around the country, on what's happening around the state, to find good ideas that we might be able to try here. That's how we're going to make progress on these long-standing issues. To be able to think about what will work and be willing to try it in a responsible, collaborative way. So the unarmed crisis response team at this point is in a conceptual stage. We don't have the specifics about exactly what it's going to look like. But I am fully committed to working through those questions together as a city. And that's going to include working with the Lynn Racial Justice Coalition, the Lynn Police Department, the Lynn Fire Department, all the stakeholders that are involved in putting something like this together. Because ultimately, what we're proposing is to add to the team that is helping us to address these issues and to bring skills that we think are missing in order to be able to reach these underlying needs, to prevent some of these issues from becoming escalated situations. And so it's going to take all of us who are working in this to think through what these questions are and to be open about what the answers might be, and absolutely committed to safety as a top priority, because that's everybody's goal, including the folks that are pushing this because they see an issue, a threat to their safety in the way that they are have interacted with their community. And so I think it's something that I'm absolutely committed to, fully understanding that there's questions that we need to think through together, and committed to doing the work to find the answers to those questions together. Thank you.
All right, thank you both. Just a follow-up to those questions. Darren has made it clear that he's not ready to commit to the unarmed crisis response team as of yet. He doesn't have enough information. He's not comfortable with it. Jared said he's willing to commit to it, to try something different and something new. And I think what we really want to do here is give the constituency all the information they need to make a good, solid decision. In full disclosure, I am on the Lynn Racial Justice Coalition, and I've spoken to both of these gentlemen in regard to this issue. And what I just would like to say to Darren, just quickly, I would hope you would consider the information we've already given you in regard to this unarmed crisis response team. The model that we've looked at, one of the models we've looked at, is out in Eugene, Oregon, called Cahoots, and they have had less than 1% of people that have been injured while trying to deal with these crises. Less than 1%, over 30 years. All right, so that's there. That's information right there for you. All right. As far as dispatch goes, with the police are concerned, the firefighters are concerned, the dispatchers are concerned, people are often concerned about things that they're not sure about. So I would suggest to them and anybody else, do your homework. Look into it, all right? And don't be afraid to be first. Lynn can be a pioneer in this whole thing, all right? They can be. But look at the data that was put forth by the Dukakis Center, some students from Northeastern University. They did some research on this whole thing. There's a model that's already out there that's been proven. So I think we're in the business, as far as the Lynn Racial Justice Coalition goes, of de-escalating things, all right? Police are not required for every single call. And when you put a call into 911, I'm speaking as a former firefighter myself, a first responder. We know those 911 calls go to the state police. But when you call the state police, They ask you, what is your emergency? Police, fire, or medical? So the dispatch is not confused, all right? And people from this new program, if they need the assistance of police, they will so state it. We need police, and police should respond like we'd do anything else. If they don't call you, don't come. If they call you, do your job, come. Okay? So I'll just put that out there like that. So I'm hoping that each and every one of you, because you're going to be the next mayor of the city of Lynn, like we said, we have over 100,000 people in the city of Lynn, probably 95,000 on the books. But we know we walk around this city every day, and we see the traffic that's here, and we see the people that are here. It's probably over 100,000 people in this city, and it's an awesome responsibility. That's why these people are here tonight after 9 o'clock. They want to hear what you have to say about these issues. So again, I thank both of you for that, but please consider this. All right, we're moving on to the next question. If you don't have any questions for me.
Can I just say,
Rebut.
Daryl, thank you. It's not even a rebut. I didn't say I wasn't opposed to it. At the time, I am. I'm willing to sit at the table. I'm willing to discuss any issue, and I'm willing to learn about it. I'm not willing to put my toes in the water unless I know what's in the water. That's all I'm saying, Daryl. I appreciate everything you just said, and I listened. Thank you.
Thank you. We understand. Jerry, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at a point now where the Lynn City Council felt comfortable appropriating $500,000 to do this pilot, and it's time to do that work.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. Okay. Next question is on education. With over 70% of the Lynn Public School students are of color, and less than 20% of the faculty are teachers of color, do you think that the learning environment would be more conducive and beneficial to the students if more of their teachers were racially and culturally reflective of the students themselves? And by which the teachers could serve as role models and enhance their ability to achieve. Why or why not? Do you think we should have more teachers of color that will be reflective of the student body? We're going to start with Jared.
Thank you. Yes. This is currently a priority for the Lynn Public Schools. The Lynn School Committee, as part of its role of evaluating the superintendent, works with the superintendent to set goals for the district. And one of the district's goals for the past couple cycles has been to improve teacher diversity, and that's based on really important feedback from our students and families, and also data on education for students to be able to see themselves reflected in the faculty, make those connections, is correlated with improved outcomes educationally. So the data is there. This is a sound policy, and it's one that the Lynn Public Schools is absolutely committed to. And Dr. Tutwiler, superintendent, is absolutely committed to. Dr. Tutwiler has a plan in place that we've reviewed and approved about addressing this over time, because it's going to take time to move these numbers. There's a set of strategies around recruitment of teachers of colors and getting into different places to be trying to recruit teachers of color. There's strategies around retention of teachers of color, because if you create a more supportive working environment for teachers of color who are feeling frustrated or not feeling seen and feeling like they're getting the support they need, and you're able to address that and improve your retention, over time your teacher diversity will improve. And so I think that's a great place to focus. And then finally, building a pipeline of Lynn students to go and get the education they need to come back and work as teachers in the Lynn Public Schools. I truly believe that's the most promising and the most exciting for a lot of reasons, and the most important is how wonderful our students are and how well served we will be for them to be back here teaching the next generation. And it takes work to build those pathways, because we know there's a lot of barriers in to become a teacher with all the degrees and certifications you need to have, but we need to commit to make that pathway a reality. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Jared. Darren, same question.
So I know they've been trying in the school department to do that. I'm a firm believer in that the people that work for you, the colors should reflect the community. Absolutely. But it's pretty simple why we're having the problem that we're having. Our teachers are the 4th lowest paid in the state. Teachers in Salem, Swampscott, Revere, they make more money than the teachers here in Lynn do. That's why we can't get teachers, minority teachers, to come here. They can go somewhere else and make more money. It's that simple. I'd be all in favor of working with students to try to get them to come back here, working with minority groups in the city to try to get teachers. I know at the Cultural Center, Abner Darby and Mrs. Barton for years were training kids, trying to get them to come back here into the community. They didn't want to come back here. They wound up moving out. My goal as the mayor is going to try to get young people interested in living in our city. I don't care what color their skin is. I don't care what their nationality is. I want to give them a reason why they want to stay here, why they want to come back here after college. And one of the things that we have to do is we have to pay our teachers more money. It's that simple.
Okay, I thank you both. I thank you both. But I'm just going to add a follow-up to that. Again, this is not a new subject or topic for me and many of the people here in the African-American community. And we realize the encumbrances that you're faced with. And money is one, okay? Money is one. But I would say this. I'm going to offer this, and I've had this conversation with Dr. Tutwiler as well. Every year, there are hundreds of African-American teachers and students being graduated from HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. When someone's coming out of school and they're 22 or 23 years old and you offer them $75,000, I think they're going to take it, or they'll consider it. But the retention comes into play. But once you get somebody in the door, and then we can find some ways, again, I would say the school committee, whoever creates our budget and has the purse strings on that, how important is your child's education? So maybe we do need to pay our teachers more. But there is a pipeline. There is a way that you can reach out for teachers of color that are young kids that are 22, 23 years old, looking for a job, looking to move from a state like Arkansas or Virginia or wherever it may be. Washington, D.C., they want to change. They want to see Boston. All right? They're out there, trust me. So we need to do some outreach for teachers of color. They are there. They are educated. They are qualified. They are there. So we can do this. We can do this, but people have to be committed to doing it. So I offer that as a possible solution to whom our next mayor may be. Consider that. Okay. Thank you both. We're moving on. Next question. Okay.
You don't like it?
No, I actually got the wrong paper here.
Come on, Daryl.
No, we got the wrong one. We got the wrong one here. We got the wrong one. Let me get up. I am here. Okay. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry, Bob. I'm getting into some things here I shouldn't have got into. Where am I? Okay. Yeah, that's true too. That is part of the problem. You're right. You're right. I was trying to hold up. I got to do it. I can't see. Okay. I can't. Okay, here we go. This is on housing. We all realize that there is a housing crisis across the country and across the state and also here in the city of Lynn. But people not only need more housing made available to them with existing structures, but new development as well. In a new housing development that they can also afford for themselves and their families. What are your thoughts on existing housing development plan? And what would you plan as an alternative to curb this housing crisis and make living affordable for all Lynn's people? Start with Darren.
Thank you. So, affordable housing is a national issue. There aren't enough federal, state, local programs to support it. I say that all the time. I also believe that $15 an hour is not enough money to support a family or yourself. You got to take a look at that. We have to create higher paying jobs. I really believe the only way we're going to break the cycle of poverty is through education and higher paying jobs. So Lynn was always a city of industry, factories. We need to create a new industry in the city. I heard someone talk earlier, one of the candidates, about life science possibly coming here. Believe me, we've been reaching out to all the different life science companies. One of the biggest issues that Lynn has is the location. We're so far from the highway. It takes so long to get from A to B. Just when you're trying to get out of the city in the morning during rush hour, it can take you a half hour, 45 minutes. So what I truly believe is our future development in the city of Lynn, that's our industry. We have the Lynnway. We have downtown. We can create jobs, high-paying jobs. We can use our technical school to train our students. We can start them at an earlier age, first grade. Start preparing them for life. Not all our Lynn kids are going to go to college. Part of it being because we can't afford to send them to college. And most people can't afford a home. I think we can come up with a program so that we can help the families in Lynn where the average family of 4 makes less than $50,000 a year. We can help them achieve the American dream. And there are households where there are single parents living there that are taking care of 2 or 3 kids. And I believe that we can help them as well if they don't want to live in their own home, but they want to rent. And we can come up with programs. I don't think the housing production plan goes far enough. I don't think it really will address the problems, and I don't think it considered all the issues in the city. It's a topic that we can go on for hours on. So.
Okay, Jared. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you. Yes. So I absolutely agree with the question that we need to be addressing the cost of housing, and that's the point of the housing production plan. The mayor, recognizing that this was an issue a couple years ago, working with the Lynn Housing Authority, put together a team of folks to start to come up with a plan to address what's really a pressing issue in the city of Lynn, which is the cost of housing. Rents are skyrocketing. It's so hard to buy a new home. And we need to do something about it. Yes, it's a national problem. Yes, it's a regional problem. It's also a Lynn problem affecting our Lynn residents, and we need to act. And that's what the housing plan calls on us to do. It's got a wide range of recommendations that were developed with input over the last 2 years through half a dozen community meetings, hundreds of comments that have been reached out from a wide range of stakeholders, developers, landlords, tenants, housing advocates, residents, community members, and these recommendations have been vetted. But it's just a plan. It's just a plan. So what's going to happen next is that we are going to work together starting in January to implement this plan, because the residents of Lynn need help with their housing costs. That doesn't mean there aren't other important issues in the city as well. We need new schools. We want to get people pathways into higher paying jobs. But these all issues, they work together to holding people back. holding people back in a time when there's unparalleled prosperity in parts of the country. There's still a struggle in the city of Lynn that has been going on forever in terms of trying to build these pathways that are open to everybody, to break down those barriers. And housing costs right now is one of the biggest ones, and we can't turn our back on that. We need to work together, and we need to act, and that's what the housing plan calls on us to do, building a team of folks that's ready to act on this. Looking, again, to best practices from other communities so we can see how other cities and towns have tackled this, learn from that, and think about how it will apply in Lynn, not just the way it's always been, but in the future that we're building together. Because we can't just take the status quo as a given. That's why we do this, is to build a better future for all of us. Thank you.
All right, thank you both for that. Thank you both. But just to follow up just a little bit on that, I think one of the questions that I've been getting from people and talking about this for clarity, it seems to me that Darren has some reservations about the housing plan.
Lots of them.
Jared think it can work, so he's in favor. So they're on opposing sides of this particular thing. As we walk around the city of Lynn, we see a lot of new development, but we have no idea, I'm just speaking generically, all right, as a citizen, if that development is gonna be affordable to me. What type of housing is that? Are those condos? Are those apartments? Are they affordable? All these different things. So I'm going to ask both of you this question, and I'll give you an opportunity to answer it individually. If I were to walk down into Market Street, the site of the old Beacon Chevrolet that's down there, you see this huge blue building, all this stuff right on the water. Is that going to be affordable housing? Is the housing plan going to help citizens of Lynn get into those places? Are they available to us? We're going to start with Jared.
Thank you. So that development is not affordable housing, and one of the headline recommendations of the Housing Lynn Plan is a policy called inclusionary zoning. So what inclusionary zoning would do would be for new developments that meet a certain threshold that we're going to have to work out through the legislative process, that a percentage of those units will be set aside and made affordable for Lynn residents.
What percentage would that be?
That's the percentage that we'll have to set as part of the legislative process. Because the way this all works is that if we set the percentage too high and make it a barrier for the development, in which developers won't afford to build, then we've defeated our goal of creating affordable housing. Because if let's say it's 40%, and the development is therefore not economical, the developer can't make money.
Who's able to set that barometer, what it's going to be? What percentage? Who sets that?
That will
the
be
legislature?
It will, yeah, it'll be the city next year. It will go through the legislative process. Not the legislature, the city council and the mayor.
Oh, okay. So the mayor and the city council will decide.
It will be an ordinance, right?
Okay. We got that, folks? Okay. Go ahead, Bill. Quickly.
You say that go from now going forward. What about all the housing that's being built now? What percentage of that is affordable housing? There's places going up all over the city. What percentage of those units are affordable housing?
Well, I mean, it depends on the project, but for the Beacon Chevrolet project, it's going to be zero because there's not an ordinance in place.
All right, so
now.
Beacon Chevrolet is going to be zero. Let's name another one. What about on Oxford Street there, in right behind Eastern Bank?
But
Monroe Street, the Monroe Street project.
Yeah, it's also zero.
Monroe Street.
Yeah.
Darren, you want to answer that one?
So, what do you consider affordable? That's the question, because
okay.
there are different.
Well, I think let me just jump in there real quick.
Throughout the city.
If you're talking about a city like Lynn, where the median income is like $45,000 a year, how much of your income would be designated for housing, which would make it affordable for someone? So we would start with something like that. Maybe what, a third of your income, maybe?
But here's my point. What I'm trying to say is that I can't afford to live up in Ward 1. I can only afford to live where I live. I couldn't afford to live at Beacon Chevrolet site, which is now the Harbor North. Nor could I afford to live on Monroe Street. But I could afford to go into one of the new buildings on Andrews Street, or down, and it's based on how much money I make. So when you're looking at, and you're trying to do inclusionary zoning, you're looking at years before this gets passed. The whole entire community has to be involved in it. When you're talking about zone change issues between the mayor and the council, and it all goes through the council, they have hearings, and they include people. The city planner's involved in it. ISD is involved in it. All the different various departments are involved in it, and you have to take a look at it. And how do you pay for this affordable housing? Who is going to pay for it? That's the biggest issue. So usually what they're saying is with inclusionary zoning, and if you just took 10% and put it into the Monroe Street project, where there's 180, you're talking about 18 units. And if you went by the formula, you would be talking, if it was a $2,000 a month apartment, you'd be looking at $1,800 by the formula. But if you use the housing production plan formula, you're looking at between $1,000 and $1,200 a month. So that's a loss of between $800 and $1,000 a month per unit per 18 units.
But isn't the subsidy from HUD?
No, it's not. And the way, what you're talking about is, in order for Lynn residents to qualify for these units, you have to give a tax break. And that falls on the taxpayers of the city. This is why I'm saying that what we have to really do is sit down and come up with a real plan that makes sense for everybody, especially for the people who need it. But a plan for the taxpayers, because, okay, thank you. So, no, but we all have a plan, but the reality of it is, when you start sitting down and you start having your public hearings, and we saw it with Pickering School, that when taxpayers realize there's going to be a cost, they're going to challenge that, and they're going to try to do everything they can to stop it. So the real issue is, and take a look at, there's a housing crisis here in Lynn, but there's one in Swampscott and one in the Hart and Revere, and these other communities got to step up. How much affordable housing are in those communities? And I'm not trying to throw a dagger, but how much affordable housing is in the community that you came from? What I'm saying, if you're going to walk the talk, talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. So it's like, it's not just an issue here. The reason why so many people are coming to Lynn is because they can't afford to live in Boston, in Revere. And inclusionary zoning is not working in the communities. It only works for a short time because it drives the rents up on everybody else, is what it does.
Okay. Thank you for that, Darren.
But this is why I'm saying, Darrell, this is a discussion.
It's a great discussion. I'm going to give Jared equal time. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. So I totally agree with Councilor Sears' analysis that some neighborhoods are more expensive than others, and not everyone can live in every neighborhood. The problem we have is that there's too many people in Lynn that can't afford to live anywhere in Lynn.
They can't afford to live anywhere.
Councilor Sear, I would respectfully give you your time,
you did.
sir.
You're right.
Okay. Did you want to add something?
No, they can't afford to live anywhere.
So, okay, Jared has the floor. Thank you.
Too many families in Lynn can't afford to live here. Rents are going up and they're getting priced out. You've probably heard all the candidates tonight talk about how much they value this community, the diversity in this community. And by sitting and watching it happen, not standing up for the Lynn residents, we're letting our community be pushed out. We need to do something. Just because it doesn't exist as a policy now doesn't mean that we can't figure out how to do it. And yes, it's an issue in Swampscott. Yes, it's an issue in Boston. But we need to take seriously as leaders is that it's an issue for the people we represent, and there's things that we can do within the housing production plan. And I understand that Councilor Sear doesn't seem to be interested in looking into best practices from other communities. He's made that clear. But if we're going to advance on these tough issues, we need to be willing to learn. We need to be willing to put our heads together and get input from a wide range of stakeholders. And yes, that takes time. Of course it takes time. Governing isn't easy. But we're all here tonight because we care about our community and we care about putting in that time to come up with the solutions that can make a difference on these tough issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both for that. Thank you both. Information.
Darrell, we got to keep this conversation going.
This is great. This is great. Let's just do that. I want to do this quickly. I'll do it kind of like a bullet. See.
So.
No,
Sorry.
Let me just ask a question. I think it's important for people to know this. We talked about the Beacon Street, Beacon Chevrolet out into the Linway. We talked about Monroe Street and Oxford Street. Now, what about the buildings that I see that are down on Blossom Street? There's some more down on Blossom Street. What about the ones that are, which other one I seen someplace else coming up?
Washington Street?
Not the main, this question is, I was trying to get at something else. I want to address the ones on Blossom Street, but we're talking about things that are already being built, they may have already been sold, the decisions maybe have already been made. So I do want to know about Blossom Street, but I also want to know what's going to happen on the site of the porthole. That's not up yet. Porthole's demolished. Something's going up there. I don't know why construction's been halted there, but somebody knows. And we'd like to answer those questions. So let's talk about Blossom Street first, because this building's already there. Are they affordable? Can we afford them? What's up with, are they condos? What's going on there? And what's gonna happen on the porthole site? So we're gonna start with Jared this time, and then Darren, you jump in. What's happening on Blossom Street?
Right. So what's happening on Blossom Street? There's no inclusionary zoning ordinance on the books now. So private development is not going to be required to offer any kind of affordable housing. And so under the status quo, without a change, the same will be true of the porthole site. So this is the conversation we're having in the housing.
I'm listening.
Okay. This is the conversation we're having with the housing production plan is as we develop as a city, how can we make sure that development benefits the city, benefits the community? And I absolutely am supportive of developing. I think that's one of the reasons I've been able to build a strong team, a strong coalition of support across the city, including support from the building trades, who are also very interested in bringing development to the city. And that's creating pathways for jobs for Lynn residents. And the key here is going to be to think about how we can make sure that those future developments benefit the city. One of those ways is an inclusionary zoning policy that sets aside a percentage of units and makes them affordable for Lynn residents. And the thing about, when you talk about affordable housing, what's important to understand is that that's what's affordable to a particular resident or to a particular family based on a percentage of their income. According to the federal government, residents should be spending 30% of their income on housing costs. So when residents spend more than 30%, that housing is not affordable. Almost half the city is spending more than 30% of their income on housing. So this is not an issue that's coming at us. This is an issue that we're experiencing now. And I'm excited as anyone about the potential that we have as a city to grow. I think that creates jobs. I think it grows our commercial tax base and benefits the city. But we have this opportunity now to talk about what that development is going to do for our residents. And that's what the goal of the housing production plan is. That's why so many folks were able to give their time to participate, including city councilors that were invited and submitted input, and just a wide range of stakeholders and community members. But the answers about percentages are not answers that we have yet, because we have to go through that process of getting the input from the people that it's going to affect.
All right, thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Darren, we're almost there, folks. A little more patience. We're just going to ask one more question. That'll be it.
Can I talk about the portal and Blossoms?
Yes, we're giving that opportunity right now, and then we'll go into our final question.
Okay.
All right, Darren, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Bill, 2 minutes, please.
So the reason why the portal is not being developed right now is because of the permitting process in the state. That's the reason why that's not being developed right now. Down on Blossom Street, those are condos. It's private. So, and they're asking a certain price for them, so they put certain amenities into the building. And I'm going to compare it to the Washington Street site, where they built a building 3-4 years ago. It's got, I believe, 30 or 40% affordable housing, what they call workforce housing, in it. It took 7 years to get the funding for that project. It almost failed 2 times. Contractors and the housing authority were going to walk away from it. So it was federal money that came in. It was done with tax incentives from the city, and it was also done with state money, and the unions backed it. No banks did. We had a developer that came into the city 3 months ago and wanted to build a $130 million building in the downtown area and wanted a 15-year tax incentive. And we asked him if he could include 10% affordable housing. And they said, let us go back and take a look at it. This is one of the world's largest developers. And he came back and he said the plan, the figures just didn't work. We asked if he could do 5%, and they walked away from the deal. The issue is when you're building a building and you're trying to attract certain people to come in, you put amenities to attract those people. I am all in favor.
Just one quick question, Darren. On what site was that developer looking to develop? Where?
Behind the Edison, the parking lot where the bank is. So that was 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and we're still trying to get them to come back. We do work with developers, and we do try to get them to include some type of affordable housing. Now, I'm going to use this as an example. Monroe Street, the rents are like $2,300. But they just finished putting $6 or $7 million into the Masonic Temple on Market Street, and the rents are $1,400. I can't afford $1,400. I work 2 jobs. I bought my house 30 years ago. There are times when I'm struggling to make my mortgage payment, so I understand about affordable housing. And yes, we got to do something in the city. The GE, and I'm going to use them as an example, supported the people of Lynn. Not just the people that worked there, but the people who worked in the jobs around it. That's why what I'm saying is that if we're going to create real, true affordable housing and stop making people depend on the government, because we're creating a dependable society, instead of giving people a hand up, we keep giving them a hand out. So the only way to do that is to get higher paying jobs and better education for the people who live here. I do not want to force anybody out. I love this city and I love the people that are here, and I want to work with them all so that we can all have the same opportunities. But we can't do that at the expense of everybody else. Thank you.
I agree. All right. It's a difficult situation.
Absolutely.
But that's why I say the office of mayor is an awesome responsibility, that people have to make tough decisions. And as far as developers coming into the city, some of the biggest developers in the world, you say, come here, and they didn't want to take the 10% for affordable housing because they might be losing too much money.
Absolutely.
Okay. Greed is horrible.
It stinks.
Greed is horrible, all right? But I would say this too. I think that we in the city of Lynn, and hopefully our elected officials hear this and just consider it. Lynn is a place that has a great number of natural resources here, and it has something that the vast majority of places in this country do not have, and that is a waterfront, all right? Like someone once said to me, beachfront property, they're not making any more of it, all right? And we happen to have some. So I think if we just play a little hardball with those people, Lynn has proven to be a very desirable place. What we have to guard against, here, and you can see it, and people have talked about it before, is the gentrification of Lynn, all right? If you look all down the waterfront, you look by North Shore Community College, moving up Sagamore Street, where the porthole is, all that, it is very desirable. Like I said before, Lynn is 8.5 air miles from Boston, one of the greatest international cities in the world. People will move here, but they're moving other people out. Lynn is valuable, and you have to have some foresight to see that, all right? So don't sell the house because some developer is saying, we don't want to pay that. They don't want to pay it now, but they're going to pay. They will pay to live here. They will pay to develop here. All right?
Just a point of information, Darrell. It costs the same for materials to build a building here in Lynn as it does in Boston, but you're not going to get the same rents. These are things that we have to consider. And we are losing developers, and they're going up to Hamilton and Haverhill. Not Hamilton, up to Haverhill. I agree with you. Someday there may be developers, because this may be the only place left to build.
It's the only place left that has a beach and a waterfront. Haverhill doesn't have that.
It doesn't. You're
and
right.
They're never going to have it.
That's my point.
They're never going to have it.
That's my point. They could have built here, but they decided not to. They decided to go to another community.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, because it is getting late, but thank you. Everything is great. Jared, I'm going to give you 1 minute. Bill, straight
And
1 minute.
I just want to say, I really appreciate what Jared is trying to do.
1 minute.
I really do.
Rebuttal. 1 minute. One.
So just quickly about the development point, because I think it's important that absolutely we need to believe in the city of Lynn. We need to believe in our strengths. We need to see what's happening, the changes in the market. And we also need to look at what's going on beyond the broader market of just the city of Boston. There are other cities in similar positions that have tried inclusionary zoning and had success with it. Not just Boston, Cambridge, Somerville, but cities like Quincy and Lowell and Brockton and Chelsea and Everett. This is a policy that can work. It has worked in other communities, and we're selling ourselves short if we rule it out entirely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Last question, folks. Last question of the evening. I'm going to keep everything tight, all right? Okay. But this is one I think is very important, and I could not leave this out. We're talking about minority hiring here in the city of Lynn. Like I said, Lynn is a city of over 100,000 people, and is vastly becoming the majority people of color here. But those people are not represented in its municipal jobs, in City Hall, in the police and fire department. So the question would be this. I'm going to do a little preface again. City or municipal jobs are often thought of as the backbone and foundation of any city. These jobs are respectable, good paying, and viewed as honorable positions in society. That is why they are so desirable to many people. For generations, these positions have allowed hardworking, good people to build happy and productive life for them and their families. For many years, these positions were exclusively for a select group of people. Many places have embraced the climate of a post-racial society and have espoused the rhetoric of inclusion for a better overall society, but not here in Lynn. We don't see it. This is a particular concern to African Americans and other people of color, because we as a whole just don't see it taking place in Lynn. If you walk through City Hall and all of its various departments, you will not see us represented. If you look at our police department, there are less than 10 of us. If you look at our fire department, you will see the same thing. So there's not that many police and firefighters that are people of color. And it's been like that for a long time. All right? Okay. Okay. We just don't see it. Where is the inclusion for us? What will the mayor of the city of Lynn do to make a significant change in these clearly exclusionary hiring practices when it comes to African Americans and other people of color? We're going to start with Darren.
Thank you, Darrell. I'm a true believer that our community, the jobs that are in it, should represent the diversity of the city. As city council president, in the last 4 years, I've hired 5 people, all women, 3 of them are color.
On your staff?
One's on my staff, 2 are down in the clerk's office. And the 2 that are down in the clerk's office, I'm going to start bragging a little bit. I met them 2 years ago during the pandemic. They were 2 single mothers. They had no idea that I had anything to do with helping them get their job. But I knew they needed help. They didn't have any political connections or anything like that, but they were highly qualified for the positions. They didn't even find out until a year after they had the job that I had recommended them, that I got them to come in for an interview, and they wound up getting the job on their own because they were given an opportunity and a chance. And that's what I believe we should be doing throughout our city. Anytime anyone's going to be hired, I would love to put a curtain up so that the interview and the interviewers cannot see who it is that they're interviewing. But unfortunately, that's not the reality of the world. But I love the question.
All right, thank you, Darren. All right, Jared, same question.
Thank you. That absolutely a really important point. I think that our agencies, our city government, better serves the community when it reflects the community. And I think that's absolutely going to be a top goal if I'm elected mayor in our administration. I spoke earlier about a little bit about what the school department is doing, and I think that some of those strategies will translate really well to some of the agencies we were just talking about in terms of building pathways for students to come back and step into those roles. Because if our police department and our fire department reflected the diversity of our Lynn students, then we would be having a much different conversation. We would see the city reflected in those departments. And so that pipeline strategy is one I believe strongly in. It's a long-term investment, so there's things that we need to be doing in the short term as well to make difference in this year and next year. You know, things about recruiting, about retention. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to collaborate with the city's new diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. That the part of the charge of that role is to help the city think through these issues, and I think the mayor should absolutely work really closely with that person to advance this goal and empower them to make the recommendations that need to be made in terms of how we can make progress on this issue. That includes the personnel director thinking about hiring practices, identifying those changes that we could be doing to make a difference, because the status quo is not acceptable. We definitely need to improve this, and it's going to help the community too. Not only will those public agencies better serve the community by reflecting the diversity of the community, but those are great jobs, like the question mentioned, and having those jobs in our community will do everybody a great service. So thank you.
All right. Thank you both. Thank you both. We're almost there, folks. We're almost there. We're gonna finish. Bill, I need you to be really tight. 1 minute for this. All right. You gentlemen have 1 minute to answer a question that's going to be posed to one another. We're going to start with Darren. You can ask Jared a question. Jared, you will have 1 minute to respond.
Thank you. Our city charter is an ever-evolving document. It hasn't been changed since the 70s, regardless of whether you agree with everything in there. It is our job when we take oath to support it and to enforce it. If you're elected mayor, would you continue to enforce it, the rules and the regulations that are in there? And if you don't agree with something that's in there, would you go through the process of trying to change it?
Thank you for the question, Councilor Sear. Yes, I would enforce the city charter, and yes, I do think it's an opportunity for us to have a conversation for the city about the charter and what's working, what's not working. As you mentioned, it's been in there for a long time. These documents should be living documents. The city has changed a lot over the last 40 years, and part of the leadership of mayor is to be identifying those opportunities where we could be doing things differently in service to all the city. That's something that I did in my role on the school committee. The school committee sets the policies for the Lynn Public Schools, and we follow federal law on education, state law on education, and also our own policies for the Lynn Public Schools. Working with our school committee attorney, we identified that some of the policies that were in effect also hadn't been updated since the 70s, and have been working with the Massachusetts Association of School Committees to update those policies, bring them up to date based on best practices from around the state, and also tailoring them specifically to what the needs in Lynn are. And so having that facility with those kinds of documents that are important for the functioning of city government, I think is going to be really important in the next mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jared. Jared, you can ask Councilor Sear a question. Darren, you'll have 1 minute to respond.
Thank you. So my question is, Councilor Sear, you mentioned that you're open to the unarmed crisis response team. What would you need to see to be able to be willing to go forward with a pilot of that program?
So I'd need to be able to sit down with the police chief, police officers, see how it works, if it even works in any other communities locally, see what the differences would be, because as I said earlier, it's a community that's on the other side of the country. I don't know what goes on there, never been there, I've never seen it. As I said earlier, I'm the kind of person, before I put my toe in the water, I want to make sure I know what's in there. I'm about advancing police training. I've been involved in law enforcement over the years. It's not an easy job. It's not an easy job at all. And I'm be right up front with you. I would be fearful that a police officer or even a firefighter might not come home at the end of the day because they weren't there to handle the situation. So I just need to be feeling a lot better about it before I give a commitment. After speaking with police officers in the city of Lynn, I've learned they're not in favor of it. Speaking with firefighters, and as I said earlier, 911 operators, they don't know if they want to make that call. So I need to get a lot more information. I need to be educated better on it, and I'd be willing to sit down with Darrell or anybody else that wants to help enlighten me. Did I keep you awake?
All right, thank you both. Thank you both for that. Darren, you're on a roll. You have 30 seconds to make your closing statement. 30 seconds.
Madam President, so as I said earlier, I've lived here in the city. I'm really tired of the same old same. I'm tired of us always taking 2 steps backwards. I really know that we need to bring development in the city that's going to support our business community, create higher tax revenues. Our budget for this fiscal year is over $400 million. We only bring in $140 million in taxes. That's through residential and it's through business. We have to do a lot better job than we're doing. Wow, that was quick.
Okay. Jared, you have 30 seconds for your closing statement.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the host and to all of you for being there. I'm running to help provide the forward-thinking leadership that we need in this moment. And we're building a strong coalition in support of that goal of growth that includes all of us. So we're talking about better housing, better jobs, better school, better infrastructure, and more peace in the community. And I strongly believe that I have the skills and experience that we need for inclusive growth, to both create opportunities for growth and to make those opportunities inclusive. And ultimately, I want Lynn to be a place that prepares my young son, Henry, to go anywhere and inspires him to love it here. Thank you.
All right. I say thank you to you both. Thank you to all the candidates, and thank you to the citizens of Lynn who braved this debate, this candidates night, and I hope you go away a lot more informed than when you walked in the door. So thank you all. I appreciate you. And be sure you vote in November 2nd. Make sure you vote. Make sure you vote.